Hello and welcome to episode 76 of the Movies in a Podshell podcast, the podcast where we take a theme and pick two films to fit that theme. I always get that mixed up. I'm like, fit that theme. This week's theme is obsession, jealousy, inadequacy. He can't feel anything but gratitude for every single moment of his stupid little life. That's who I'm joined by. Someone that thinks that. His name's John.
Wow, that is grim. Grim intro.
Grimtro. There we go.
I had a much nicer intro when we were on with Claire. I think you're nice to me when the guests are here.
Performative. I think they call it performative.
That's exactly what you are.
Yeah, so I was giggling all the way in because we've been having lots of fun chats, and John's so scared about getting cancelled on this episode when we discuss American Beauty and Rebecca. But
Rebecca.
Yeah, John.
Rebecca will be all right. Rebecca will be fine.
Rebecca's going to be fine. Yeah, there's no controversy around that film whatsoever. If you keep seeing me look down here, it's because I've got my second screen and that's where John is. So I feel like I'm trying to be professional and look directly at everyone. But yeah, so John, how have you been anyway? What's been going on with your life?
Good, super busy. It's that time of year. It's event season, so I've been here, there, everywhere filming. I won't bore you with all details, but it's been pretty manic, which is why we're a week late with recording. So apologies, guys. And Jamie's much the same. He has been literally just hammering the motorway. I feel like that's all. I feel like both of us have been hammering the motorway. I would just keep calling you up at stupid times in the morning, being like, "Where you going?"
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. How long till you arrive? Oh, okay. like literally.
I regularly have, it's crazy actually, you think this is all just for fun actually, the bromance is real. John will regularly call me at 8 a.m. and I'll be halfway up the M6 and he's like, yeah, where are you going today, mate? Because he knows that I probably am one of the only friends he has in his phone book that is actually
8 a.m. will be driving.
Will be driving, yeah.
Literally, properly commuting.
Yeah, John took the fall for the fact that we're recording a week late. Actually, it's just completely both of our faults. I actually think it's more so mine because I've just been opening a new store, store of some unknown thing that I will tell you nothing about. So yeah, but it's been good. Yeah, it's been busy, but we've got a couple of little holidays coming up now, which is good. So I'm going to Amsterdam. Late next week.
We're out on Saturday for the boxing and football.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, it's not just about sports for me and John. We love sports. It's not just about films for me and John. We love sports as well. So we're going to see that. Was a Champions League final. Do you know what's really funny? I don't even know who's in the final. Real Madrid. Who else?
And is it Dortmund? It's Dortmund.
I don't think it's Dortmund. But anyway,
is it not?
Can you Google that anyway? And then
I'm just there to watch Jude Bellingham. Final. Anyway, no one cares.
Yeah, literally no one cares. It's hilarious. But yeah,
just to say, Jamie and I went on a bit of a DVD binge together in terms of buying some online. So we were talking about a few weeks ago that it was quite hard to get hold of some of the older Hitchock films. Some are on Blu-ray, but they cost 40 or 50 quid, and they're crazy. Multi-region ones, etc. And Jamie was like, you can get secondhand on Amazon now, which I've never done before. I've never bought secondhand off Amazon. I didn't even know it was a thing. So we managed to pick up, I got Suspicion, Spellbound, Notorious, Rebecca, and I can't remember what the other one was, all for 15 quid all in.
Was it the boat one? Did we get
I didn't get Lifeboat because it is available on Blu-ray. Okay. The only thing is that it's not the free postal and packaging. So my point being, the cost of the post and packaging the DVD for Lifeboat was cheap, but the post and packaging was so expensive that I was like, I might as well buy the 30 quid Blu-ray.
That's what they used to do, mate. Yeah, you know how it's it's illegal to sell World of Warcraft characters. So what people do is they say, have this level 90 Night Mage, but actually buy this pencil for £100 and you get a free level 90 Night Mage, so stuff like that. Do you know what's really funny? People will be people that actually play World of Warcraft are like, there's no such thing as a Night Mage, you twat. And I'll be like, listen, it's the next expansion, what do you know?
But yeah, we've been managing to get lots of old Hitchcock that way, which is quite cool because we weren't actually able to stream Rebecca, which has just made me think actually that's quite an interesting thing for doing it as a second film of the pod if you can't stream it. But anyway, I bet you can stream it in America, but in the UK
it's pretty bad. No, it's pretty bad. So
you can actually watch it, all of it, on YouTube for free, because literally there's an old movie channel on YouTube which uploads old films, and it's not been removed, so I'm guessing it's
no, okay. It is, yeah.
So watch on that.
I usually turn my nose up at DVDs, but actually The quality was pretty good, and I think Suspicion's actually Blu-ray as well. Oh, why are you drinking that muck? Mate, you're slumming it.
Bought a pack of 10 for a barbecue recently, and it's left over. It is the last one, and it's hilarious because, for the record, it's Foster's. Like, I don't care. And when we live in Australia, like, everyone's always like, "Oh, I bet you drink Foster's all the time." I was like, no one in Australia drinks Foster's. Like, no one likes it. It's just one of those
piss water. That's why.
Well, I feel like we're very scattergun today with like where we're going with this. Like, I was trying to direct us with the Hitchcock section,
really funny.
But we're completely off the wall. But yeah,
people like it. I've heard that people like it.
Do they like it when it's like that? Okay,
they do. Yeah, no, they do. They like the weird intros, the chaos. But yeah, I've got to have my throat is a bit dodge, so when I get excited, it's a bit
post festival voice.
And you would have heard me the year before, post festival around this time, and the year before that, post festival around this time.
And last time we went to go and see Blade Runner immediately after that as well. When we did a recording after that, do you remember?
I do remember. Yeah, we went to see it in with a live orchestra. Is that right?
We did, and. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop being so scattergun. Jamie, what have you been watching? And then I can tell you about what I've been watching.
John's been watching loads, hasn't he? But yeah, I guess I better start it off. Right, so did I speak of... I don't think I did. And do you know what? Let's speak about it. So I've got quite a lot to watch here. So I watched The Idea of You, which is a film by Michael Showalter, who also did a really good film called The Big Sick. This is starring Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galitzine.
The Amazon one.
Yeah, like, and so it's. I was expecting it to be like just your normal rom-com fare, you know, nothing great. But I actually quite like films like this. Like, I'm a big fan of. I just quite like a rom-com, you know, and my other half doesn't. Yeah, I do. Like, my other half doesn't. So, which is hilarious because like. I'm the one sitting there like watching all these like
Brian.
Yeah, which are like I guess aimed at girls or whatever, like, and I just love them. So this is basically just about a 40-year-old woman who basically splits up with her husband. Her husband goes off with another woman who I think is quite a lot younger than him, but obviously that's fine. And then Anne Hathaway, Celine, her name is, she ends up somehow like bumping into this rock star who I'm pretty sure is based off Harry Styles, which was a big turn off for me at the beginning. But have you heard that song Watermelon Sugar?
I have.
It's an actual banger. So it's basically based on him, and he's in this like boy band who are like really cringe, and it's very cringe. He's like 24, she's 40, and when he's a superstar, and when people start finding out about it, it's all about kind of the demise of like basically what the papers do to her and like how she's looked upon and all that kind of thing and the tensions it brings. I really liked it. Like it's a lot. I think I give it 7 out of 10. It's most people would give it a 6 maybe, or maybe even less than that. But I found it quite funny. Yeah, I found it quite funny. I found it quite charming. And I enjoyed it a lot, so yeah, that's what I watched. Then I watched, for the first time, which John has seen, I watched a film called Room from 2015.
Hard watch.
That's directed by Lenny Abramson, who also did Normal People, which I didn't actually like. It's a really tough watch. I couldn't believe what a watch it was. So this is starring Brie Larson, Jacob Tremblay. It's basically just about a mum who's locked in a room with a 5-year-old boy. And they've lived there the little boy's whole life.
The most incredible thing of that film is you hear majority of like how the boy sees the world, but he only sees the world from that room, as in he's only ever been in that room. So his whole understanding of the world is completely messed up. And like hearing it from his perspective is so interesting. And I won't go into spoilers for it, but just watching him adapt to the different situations happening around him is kind of the story. Like, it is obviously Brie Larson's story as well, but it's as much about like, it makes you realize how much you are just creatures of circumstance. And what I mean by that is, you know, the environment you're raised in absolutely affects your worldview, and like his worldview is literally a room. So like it's crazy. It's one of those films that really got me thinking. I remember it's quite a long time ago I watched it. It's probably 2018 now. So no, 2017 now. But it's one of those films that stuck with me, and it's quite harrowing as well. Like how they get to that environment. I think it's in a flashback. I can't remember. But,
I didn't. So I didn't really know what it was. Like I had no, and I would recommend everyone to go in like that. It's 2 hours, and they don't spend the whole and no, I'm not going to spoil anything.
Don't say anything.
But like, just go in blind. It's brilliant, and Brie
also,
Larson's performance is fantastic. But
it's Hitchcockian vibes in terms of like single location for large parts of
yeah.
similar to like Rope and like oh my god, Rear Window. Yep, got there in the end.
Look at us. So then I watched then I watched a 2024 film called Abigail, right? And John,
all right,
we're going to cover this. We are going to cover this.
Is
we're
it
going to
horror?
cover it. Yes, it's a horror, but it's from the makers of Ready or Not. So
I've heard really good things about this and similar style. Save it for October or whenever Halloween is, end of October.
Yes. Yeah. So it's got Melissa Barrera, who most people will know from the Scream films by now. Dan Stevens, who obviously we know from The Guest. What a banger! What a soundtrack. We'll cover that soon as well. Alicia Weir. Catherine Newton. Catherine Newton, right? She's in everything lately. I really like her. She's in 3 Billboards. She's in a film called Freaky. She's in a film called a show called Big Little Lies, which I've just finished the first season of, which is fantastic. And she was in something else I watched. Lisa Frankenstein, I believe. So yeah, she's popping up everywhere at the moment. But yeah, you know when that happens, like everyone you just notice them. You just start noticing them.
It's like when someone's like, when you're like looking for a car, when you go to buy a new car and you never notice that car ever, and then when you start looking for it, then you just see them everywhere. It's the same with actors and actresses.
Common as
they
much,
just
mate.
pop up. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that's why you need to buy a Ferrari. But anyway, so Abigail is about it's about like a group of criminals that kidnap a 12-year-old girl who's like a ballerina. And essentially, the ransom is $50 million that they're going to basically they've captured her. They want $50 million, and it's all ran by Giancarlo Esposito, which you'll know from Breaking Bad if you've seen that.
Yep.
And they're basically in this house with this girl, and they find out that this girl is related to this like mad underworld like figure. I wasn't going to say vampire, but now you said it.
Sorry.
I think it's in the trailer. I'm pretty sure it's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer, yeah. And as you can imagine, she's a vampire, and it's very funny, extremely gory. Just with these films, you cannot just go in and don't take it too seriously. You know?
Is the score as good as Ready or Not? Because one of the best things about Ready or Not is Brian Tyler's score for that film is so good. Like it's surprisingly lyrical for like I'm
gonna say that I don't remember the score much.
Okay, that's fine.
So
we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna look on my phone right now while you're talking about your next film.
You look on your phone right now. I've been getting loads of like Criterion. Have been releasing some bangers lately. So I've just been pre-ordering Blu-rays, which is not something I normally do. So this next film is like really interesting. I want everyone to just try and search it out. It's called Dogfight.
It is Brian Tyler again, sorry, so I'll give it a listen and let you know. Anyway, sorry,
let me know. So this next film is called Dogfight. So it's just come out on Criterion Blu-ray. It's from 1991. I'd never even heard of it before. It's directed by Nancy Savoca, and it starts off really cruel. So it's got River Phoenix, Lily Taylor, who's amazing, by the way. Like, she's absolutely amazing. It's a love story. It's based in 1963. It's about River Phoenix, who's like an 18-year-old Marine Corps volunteer, and he's about to ship out with a few of his mates for like duty in Vietnam. And they're planning this like massive blowout for the last night in San Francisco. And what they do is they set up a contest called Dogfight. Now it sounds so horrible, but it's done so well. Now the contest is that they've all four of these guys have got to find the ugliest girl they can and bring them back, and whoever gets the ugliest girl wins like basically the pot of like, I think it's like something pathetic like $100. And so he goes and basically just tries. He's having bad luck all night, trying to find a girl he deems ugly enough, and he then finds Lily Taylor, who is she's working in a cafe, and she's really sweet, and from the immediate, like, she's just this really sweet girl, and he then kind of convinces her, she's really meek, and he convinces her to go to this dogfight, and she goes, and then like he kind of like realizes like that he shouldn't have done it, and that he really likes her and stuff, and so it ends up it starts off really mean and slowly becomes really sweet and really romantic, and it's got a lot to say about like what's going on. her character's like, she's really goofy, but she's like really strong-willed and like so extremely likable. It's wonderful. It's really good. And I would say that like you've got to see past the initial what the film is. It's directed by a woman, so it's handled really well, is what I would say. So yeah, check that out. Like it's fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I watched a film with Denzel called Out of Time. It's 2003. It's ridiculous. It's directed by Carl Franklin, who obviously we know did an actual really good cop film called Devil in a Blue Dress, which I would really tell everyone to go and watch that. This is just about like basically a chief of police. He's got to solve a double homicide before he falls under suspicion, and he's like tying himself up in knots. It's got Eva Mendes in it as well, when she's really young, probably too young to be a detective, which she's just been promoted to. I think like it's a bit of a weird miscast. It's ridiculous but very entertaining. Beer and a pizza movie, you know.
Yep,
that's exactly what that is. So I would. It's a 6 out of 10. I've got 3 more to talk about. I'm really sorry, John.
Sorry.
I watched The Fall Guy. He's like, it's all right, I'm bored. I watched The Fall Guy. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. Obviously, as we know, it's a 2024 film. Basically, it's just about a stuntman. He's had a career-ending accident, and he's in love with Emily Blunt's character, Jodie Moreno, and he basically just blanks her because he's in this like turmoil. I found it very funny. Like he comes back for one film, like, and then kind of like gets in with Emily Blunt, who's directing it. Very dry, excellently timed delivery from both of the leads. It's obviously too long at 2 hours and 10 minutes, but ultimately, like, get some popcorn, watch it on a Friday night. Got 3 more. Dazed and Confused, one of my new favourite films of all time, John.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I need a sip. So, everyone's going to know this film. Dazed and Confused, 1993, Richard Linklater. I've not seen many of Linklater's films. I've seen Before Sunrise, School of Rock. I think that's it, which is pretty embarrassing, to be honest. But I think I love him. So this is about basically a group of teens. Hold on. Did I say I've only seen 2? I think I lied to you all. No, yeah, 2. Sorry. Yeah, 2. So this is basically just a hangout. It's a hangout movie. It's a group of teens in Texas, last day of school, 1976, and it's basically just centering on one student, Randall Floyd, and it kind of like he's a bit of like an in-betweener, like he moves between like stoners, jocks, geeks. He's a star athlete, he's a quarterback, he loves smoking weed, and basically the coach presents him with like this no drugs policy. It's got Matthew McConaughey in it when he's quite young, Rory Cochrane, Wiley Wiggins, Adam Goldberg. You know loads of people. Ben Affleck, Mila Jovovich, like when they're really, really young. Now, this was like, you know, when a film just resonates with you, like I'd give anything in the world to have seen this at like 15 or 16 years old. The writing from Linklater like just makes me like giddy. Like it makes me so happy. Like I was sitting there and I had a couple of whiskeys and I was just really smiling the whole way through. It's a new favorite. It's a rewatchable. It'll go hand in hand with something like The Breakfast Club. It's a film to show friends, and it has no plot. There is no plot, but the writing is wonderful. So everyone go and watch that. So it was weird because Criterion discontinued it. So a friend of a friend told me that Dazed and Confused was their favorite film. I was like, oh yeah, Criterion have got that, but I've just not got around to buying it. So I went to buy it and it's discontinued. Couldn't find it anywhere. Though, lo and behold, they were releasing it on 4K, so I bought it on 4K. It looks fantastic. 2 last ones. So Civil War 2024.
It didn't speak to you, did it?
Nah, mate. Hated it. Alex Garland, just like I hate most of Alex Garland's films. Yeah.
What is it that doesn't speak to you with Alex Garland films? Because like he's always got great ideas. I really like Ex Machina.
I love Ex Machina, but he's very wanky, very, very wanky. And so Civil War's basically it's set in the near future. It's about some war journalists that are like basically reporting the truth as the United States is on like the brink of civil war. So there's a lot of stuff like this going on in obviously Gaza at the moment as well. so it's an important film at an important time. Kirsten Dunst is fantastic in it. Her husband, who plays a very small bit part, what is his name? Anyway, her husband's in it, and he's absolutely amazing. However, it's obviously a commentary on what might happen if everything goes to shit. Like Trump gets in power, for example, and he starts everyone hating each other in one country. But nothing's elaborated. Like nothing, they don't tell you nothing about nothing.
But isn't that the point, though, to leave it up to the interpretation and all that kind of thing?
Obviously. Alex Garland's just not my shtick, right? He's obviously a very good director, like, but he's just not for me. Like, he's really not. Jesse Plemons, sorry, is fantastic. He's got this small, tiny little role. He's amazing. It's like 2 hours long, and I just didn't care at all about anyone. And that was a problem for me. The sound design is the highlight of it. Like the sound design's unbelievable. Like my 5.1 was like smashing off the walls, you know. So yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. Finally, I just want to talk about one last film. Sorry, John.
It's all right. Apologies for the hailstorm noise in the background.
Is that a hailstorm? Is it?
Can you hear it?
Great band. I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it. So this last one was a short film. This was called Wasp from 2003. Directed by Andrea Arnold, who a lot of people will know from American Honey, Fish Tank. She's got a brand new one out called Bird, which is supposed to be amazing. She is a director that kind of focuses a lot on kind of working class women, is her thing. And this film, in the space of 30 minutes or 28 minutes, absolutely blew me away, to the point of where, like, I got the chance to send it to someone else as a gift. So I was like, right. So I sent it to a friend of the show, Kate, as a gift, as in, like, for her to watch it for free.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved it. This is about a single mother who lives with her 4 children in Dartford. Extremely poor, extremely working class. One day her old flame drives by in the name of Danny Dyer, and he wants to go on a date with her. Scared that she's scared that he doesn't want to go out with her, so she lies and tells him that she's just babysitting her kids, because this will be the first date she's had in years. And so basically, it just spends 30 minutes just spending time with this woman and spending time in this council estate, looking at the struggles, looking at like what working class, like real working class is like, and what real struggle is like. And it was really funny because I was like looking at reviews and stuff, and I read a review from someone saying that the film was like really over the top and heightened for a more dramatic struggle. And I was like, that is like the most out of touch thing I've ever read in my life. And I'm like, you don't know like what you're talking about, like, because it's like, and I think obviously as everyone knows, I mentioned before, like I grew up on a council estate, so like I grew up around people like this and families like this, and I wouldn't say that my family was quite like this, as in not like this poor, but there are people out there like that. It's not heightened for dramatic effect. Like, in fact, it's extremely down to earth. Like, and it kind of just spends half an hour with this woman, like on her afternoon, with the kids. And there's a scene that's really sad that she takes the kids. She's had this fight out on the estate. She goes up and she's like trying to find a babysitter because she wants to go out with Danny Dyer, and she's got no money at all. And she's trying to get someone to babysit, and she has no money. And she passes around a bag of sugar to the kids, and she says, like, to the eldest, give that to your sisters, tell them not to have too much. And the kids are like literally like a little bit of sugar each, like literally a sugar that you would use for a cup of tea. And it's like that people are saying it's like for dramatic effects. It's like, well, she ain't got money to buy them sweets, and that's like a small slice of like the life. And yeah, I just found it like it's amazing. Like, and I'd really tell anyone to go on Mubi. It's on Mubi. That's the only place it's available. It's not available anywhere else. But I'd really just go and watch it. It left me. I was sitting there like empty afterwards. Like it was, and when someone can do that to you in 28 minutes, it's like, yeah, it's heartbreaking. I was like, I don't know why I've watched this, because maybe I'm not in the right headspace for it, but it's not very nice. So I'm really sorry, John. I know that's loads. I've literally gone for every single one, but the reason for that is because they were all amazing except Civil War, which I had to speak about. because it was rubbish. So finally, I'm not going to even speak about the TV I've been watching. Look at me, man. I'm on fire. What have you been watching?
I'm going to keep it relatively quick because I've got 2 films we want to go pretty in depth on. So I had the pleasure to go and see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes yesterday, which I really, really enjoyed. I kind of didn't know this was coming out. It's one of those things where a trailer dropped for it and came on YouTube, and there's so many fake trailers now. When it's like AI generated or whatever. I just kind of ignored it, and I was like, oh no, it is actually real. Really good. Obviously, we've kind of had the Caesar trilogy. This is based 100 years after that. And it's kind of got some really relevant themes. If you like the idea of Dune 2, which is about like a messianic figure being portrayed or potential figure being portrayed in a different way to like intent and like manipulation of power, this carries on those themes very much so. And like people have taken the word of Caesar. You remember like apes together strong and like apes don't kill apes. However, they are playing with it so that there's a new king, King Proxima, who believes he's the living embodiment of Caesar 100 years later, even though he's not.
Right.
It's super interesting.
It's interesting,
about, like how religions formed and like how ideas and laws are made. Really cool. But I'm going to say all the obvious things, but the way now that they're like the apes are in water and like swimming and all this, and there's nothing looks weird. It's so insane to me.
Really, it looks all natural.
It's just ridiculous. It's just like, I mean, I felt by the time they did the second Apes film, they pretty much had it nailed anyway. But now it's just like it's incredible. And there's a human character in this one called Nova, and I won't give spoilers away, but she's following the main monkey the main ape in the movie called Noah, and we kind of find out why. And it's that whole balance of like, you kind of root for the human characters in the film, but you also understand that like the apes were oppressed for so long. There's a great scene where the this isn't spoilers, I don't think. The apes, like, they sometimes find old books and old literature from like old society, and they find one which shows them in behind bars in a zoo. And they like say to the humans like, why did you do this? And it's that's cool. I don't know. Yeah. It's just good. It's really well done. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was 2 hours 20, but it kind of
isn't everything nowadays.
Yeah, but it justified the runtime because again it was quite a big journey going on. But really recommend. It kind of came out of nowhere for me, but really pleased with it. It looks to me like they've got a few more coming on. The other thing that's funny about it is the director is Wes Ball, who Jamie obviously knows because he's his #1 fan, as he loves the first Maze Runner film which he directed.
I actually love both. I love Maze Runner 2 as well. I think Maze. Mate, I'm telling you now. I think Maze Runner is better than like a lot of the Harry Potter films.
Disagree, but Scorched Trials has a banging soundtrack. Anyway, what else?
This episode is sponsored by Bullet Bourbon. Sorry, I was stuck on the M6. So we're having drinks.
We are, yeah. And I'm trying to remember.
He's got his Fosters.
Hitchcock.
Mate, you've done loads. Speak about your Hitchcock. You've watched loads.
Yeah. So we're going to do a Hitchcock episode eventually. So I don't want to go into any of them too much, but. Suspicion, I purchased and have watched. I haven't yet watched Spellbound. I'm really looking forward to watching that. Did you like Suspicion? I'd seen it before. That was what I had seen on iPlayer, but it's very good. It's Cary Grant. Love the fact he's just a bloke from Bristol who reinvented himself as an American film star. How ace is that?
Do you know what's really funny? I always get someone write in and complain about the drink making. I get other people that I get other people that really enjoy it. So to that person that doesn't like it, stop me. And I
also watched really randomly, and so I've done a lot of old Hitchcocks, but I'm not going to go into them too much because we are genuinely planning to do. I think it might be for our 50th episode. I can't remember. But we said we're going to do 50th. A big.
What, you're going to get a DeLorean and get back in time and record it?
That. What episode are we on?
76.
Oh God, maybe it's
76. You've done about 50, to be fair.
What? Yeah. Anyway, I'm not even knocking it. We've got tentative plans. We had an idea of maybe for 100th episode we'd go through Hitchcock films, but kind of do it through like the different eras, because you've got his British cinema era. We could do like 10-year period of that, and then there's like different eras in the when he moved over to Hollywood. So it's just an idea, but yeah.
The idea for episode 100 was, and I posed this to John, was that we do. Because we want it to be big, bumper, massive episode, and we're gonna start working on it now.
I'm already taking notes when we're doing these films, so I don't forget. Because
it's going to be So the idea was going to be that we'd do 3 episode 100. So episode 100, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1 would be looking at Hitchcock from the 30s to the 50s. and then
Something
50s
like-
to the 60s,
yeah.
and the 60s to his end. That was something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently reaching out to Hitchcock historians that have worked with him and kind of that kind of thing. So, and I think we've got there could be a good chance of getting people like that on. I think so. There's some experts out there that are like actual Hitchcock experts. So I was thinking of getting one on per episode to kind of give the lowdown. That was the idea. So if you like the idea and the sound of that, please let me know, and I'll do everything I can to make it happen. We both will.
If not, it's a Patreon special. Jokes. But there we go.
It will have to be.
And yeah, finally, in terms of more modern films I've watched recently, TV wise, I've been smashing loads of stuff.
Go on. Oh, you're not telling me about this.
X-Men 97, absolutely loved it, smashed it, done.
Is it good? Yeah, you've watched that, have you?
Really liked it. Yeah, loved it.
Okay.
And I went on a binge and then decided to rewatch X-Men 2 or X-Men X2 Fight for the Future or whatever it's
the best
called.
one, mate. So good.
So really weird. I remember now, again, speaking, we're going to get into separating art from the artist. Obviously, it was directed by Bryan Singer. However, X-Men 2 as a piece of art, as a film in itself, it was a very good comic book film before comic book films were good. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, it's really well executed. The CG was surprisingly decent. There's one sequence with a dam with some dodgy water from that era, you know, like they hadn't quite nailed it. However, the mix of practical and special effects, there's an opening sequence with Nightcrawler attacking in the presidential office.
I remember that. It's so good.
I remember seeing this at the cinema and loving it, and it was one of those films where I was like, I've not watched this in about probably 15 years, maybe even more. So I thought, is this crap? You know, there is always that worry of like, is this just total trash?
Yeah.
And I was just gobsmacked. I was like, this is actually decent. You've got Logan Roy, my man from Succession, not Logan Roy, I've forgotten the name of the actor. You know what I mean? The main baddie is... what the hell's his name? You know what I mean? Everyone knows what I mean.
Boaty McBoatface. Carry on.
And yeah, it was just really good. And I don't know, man. I've gone through a bit of a phase of reading a lot of X-Men recently. I'm reading the stuff that's like the young early days stuff. They did like a modern one when they went back to the 60s. I don't know if you read that. It's like fairly recent, probably like.
Oh, is it? No, I've not read that one.
Say fairly recent, probably in the past.
I read quite a
10
bit,
years.
like, but not. No, I've not read.
Anyway, I plenty to talk about. But yeah, I think we should get on to the first film of today, which is Sam Mendes's. That's hard to say. Sam Mendes's American Beauty.
My parents are trying to take an active interest in me. Why can't they just have their own lives?
I'm so proud of you. You didn't screw up once.
Oh my god, it's a psycho next door.
Jane, what if he worships you?
I didn't mean to scare you. I'm not obsessing. I'm just curious.
Why does he dress like a Bible salesman?
That is tough to say.
Sam
right?
Mendes. I would actually say it like sheep. So like Sam Mendes, American Beauty. So like you wouldn't say like. Do you say like Jesus is?
Well, yeah, I suppose you do.
Do you? Like that's Jesus's bread. Get your hands off. Would you say that? That's Jesus.
It's not a circumstance I thought.
Would you
I'd
say
have
like
to think
those
about.
are Jesus's sandals? Would you say that? Or what? Maybe you wouldn't wear sandals.
I suppose you would. Tell me more about American Beauty, Jamie. Let's go for a synopsis, then we'll go into a question which probably leads in. But let's do a quick synopsis, then we can discuss.
I mean, the synopsis is very simple, to be quite honest. It's about a sexually frustrated suburban father, Lester Burnham, who's played by Kevin Spacey, who's having a midlife crisis after becoming obsessive, infatuated with his daughter's best friend. Yep. It's about kind of middle-class suburban life. It's about kind of, there's a lot of obsession in there, there's jealousy, but that's it really. It's really just follows about 5 or 6
Slice of life.
It's slice of life. It's 5 or 6 main characters in middle-class suburbia, and it's a satire which has one of the best screenplays ever.
Tight. And it's super tight. Can I just say, in that period of films in the 90s, there were quite a few with like pure frustration, like boomers frustrated. Do you know what I mean? So you got like Matrix, I'm frustrated, the world's not real, and then it was like, Fight Club, I hate everything. You know,
it's all like that 1999, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and then like American Beauty the same. I don't know if it's because people are like worried about like Y2K and all that stuff or what, but I just noticed there's a lot of genuine frustration of like, you know, Fight Club talks about like we're men but there's no war, like what's our purpose? And then jokes aside, American Beauty is kind of the same thing. He's like Kevin Spacey's character, Lester Burnham, is essentially a demasculated man who has just fed up of his life. He hates his job. He doesn't believe in it. He feels like his family treat him like crap and don't particularly like him as a person. And it's just like, it's a weird one because I remember I was on a Reddit forum about this film and people were like, are you supposed to sympathise with his character? And I was like, I don't necessarily think you are supposed to sympathise with him.
What, with Lester?
Yeah, I feel like everyone's equally quite terrible in this. It's just kind of showing like the worst parts potentially of like capitalist culture in terms of like it's all caring about the looks and appearances and that side of it rather than actually the foundations of that, which is like family and how they get on, because you've got neighbours which have issues but they like to give like a picturesque, you know, viewpoint of themselves. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like everything's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, I think it's a scathing attack on like the middle class
corporate
and
America.
like and middle class suburbia, like, you know, because everyone, these the crazy thing about this is like these are very like clear characters. Like this is what this character is. This is what this. You've got your right wing ex-marine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you've got your insecure daughter who definitely listens to Deftones. You've got your preppy Mina Savari character Angela. You've got Annette Bening, who is playing the materialistic, wants everything to look perfect, and
but it's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
It's not the real world.
And we know people like that. Like I've known people like that in my life.
Absolutely.
Like it's the whole Instagram thing where like, oh look, I'm posting
everything's great,
picture.
But it's not.
Yeah, everything's great.
Yeah.
But guess what? I got caught parking in the wrong place and speeding last week in the same week, but I didn't. Guess what? I didn't do. I did not, and that's the true story actually. And it wasn't my fault. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't post my police emails on Instagram because it would create a bad image. And it's the quote from your man Buddy. And he says something. I just can't quite remember what it is. But he said he talks about like faking this.
It's like fake it till you make it, but
given
not,
the
but like,
given
make
the
it look like you're
perception.
winning at every situation to come out on top. But I feel like social media, this is getting quite deep. When social media first started, especially like Instagram was really selling like the influencer and that kind of thing. And I feel like people really hit onto that. And I feel like it's changed now because people realise that is BS and like people aren't buying into it anymore. People want truth and reality. So like I feel like the influencer is having to change, and it's all about like micro influencers who are genuinely real people who are saying, well, actually, I am struggling. Like actually,
look at my body. Like, like
my life isn't
I've just
that
had
great,
dinner.
but this, and you know, it's an interesting shift. We are going to go really in depth with this, and like I'm enjoying this chat, but I think we need to cover a question before we go into the film. So we had a question. I think it was from Patch, and he said, "After
trying to get us cancelled, sorry."
Yeah,
Patch, you're trying to get us cancelled.
Yeah, no, we're going to address it because Jamie said we've never been ashamed or never been fearful of like discussing like.
This is why you listen to us.
Difficult subjects. So
this is why you listen to us.
Patch said, and I think it's a fair question, after watching the documentary Spacey and Masked, it's hard to separate the art from the artist. Should we always separate them, or is there a line that shouldn't be crossed? Now, whenever we've done the pod, we have always tried as best as we can, because there is a level of this where you can't help but think about things, where we separate the art from the artist. We talk a lot about Hitchcock in this pod. There are allegations against Hitchcock, especially towards the end of his career, which are not savoury things and things we approve of or anything like that, but they happened and it's history. And one of the people this happened to was Tippi Hedren, who made allegations, said she separates the art from the artist. She came out herself and said that Hitchcock the artist is not the same as Hitchcock the man, and she viewed them as separate circumstances because she didn't want to take away from his achievements in cinema, which I always found interesting. So that's something that I've applied when we've watched American Beauty. I'm not going to lie, we know allegations were made against Kevin Spacey. He has been acquitted since, but it does make it difficult when he's playing characters which aren't always likable anyway, or always have like an undertone, which sounds bad, but I feel like it kind of makes you feel more uncomfortable if you feel like Do you know what I'm trying to say? And like,
Yeah.
especially when I've rewatched Seven. I mean, that's an extreme because he's not a serial killer, obviously. But like, it's that.
I think this one particularly is very close
unnerving.
to, yeah.
To allegations that were made. So it's a tough thing, and like I completely understand for people who are offended or who wouldn't want to watch this film for that reason. But what I would say is, I don't feel like, even with that knowledge of the character in the film, I don't think it's celebrating the portrayal of that character. I don't think it's doing that. I think it's like a critique of all of them. But
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. But I think what people would struggle with in this particular circumstance is that this isn't a Michael Jackson situation where Michael Jackson was accused of things and it was never proven, and then you listen to like Black or White. You know what I mean? Like it's completely separate from like he was accused of this. This is Thriller. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like I'm not thinking about that while
you're saying there's a tonal disparity between them,
massively,
and that kind of thing.
But with this, I can understand where people would be like,
because let's be honest, the whole point of American Beauty is it's Kevin Spacey's character falling in love with an underage girl. So it's obviously, you know,
which I'm going to be honest. I don't know each. I did remember reading at the time each particular thing. So he was there was 9 sexual offences alleged against him between 2001 and 2013 by 4 different men in the US and the UK, I believe. I don't know. I can't remember whether any of it was underage or whatever. So I just don't know. But what I would say is that like he was found not guilty last year, which I didn't even know, to be honest. So like the crazy thing is that like he was stripped out of like everything, like fired from everything, like and no one would touch him. But understandably because of the allegations. There's a lot of allegations, so people don't want to
by the letter of the law.
Associated.
He has been acquitted, and this is where it's difficult because we do live. Like,
in a cancel culture.
Yeah,
we do, yeah.
And like, there will be times when things are true and things aren't, and then sometimes you can't prove things. But you know, so allegations are allegations until they're confirmed. It's very difficult, and like, trust me, this isn't something we enjoy talking about on the pod either. Because to be honest, we just want to watch a film and enjoy it, and I hate that there are scenarios around this where these things happen. But I also feel like, I don't think we can discuss American Beauty for like an hour and not mention it. I don't think that's fair either. So just kind of saying like, we are aware of it. I understand why people are uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
but
and
also,
by the way,
like, you know, it's unfortunately it is what it is. We are where we are.
It doesn't take away from the performance.
He was acquitted of that.
He is innocent. Legally, he is innocent.
Yeah, and this performance was shown. This performance was recorded long before any of that come to light as well. So I feel like a lot of the critical reception from this film was obviously based around that time, and that's kind of the stance we've already had on the pod. It was like, when we watch films from the 1950s, there are obviously cultural and references that are inappropriate, but we try and, as much as we can, put the hat on from that time period and go with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's difficult at times, but that's just where we're at.
Let's lighten it up a bit. Movie Scenes and Shit writes in and says, I'm jealous of your luscious beard. Any coping tips? Now, John, I'm sure he's talking to you.
Absolutely not.
What coping tips? Do you mean like, do you either mean combing, or how do I cope with my beard, or how do I make it look like this?
Second one.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I obviously like nothing going on up here. So obviously what I do is I condition it. One thing, make sure you shave your cheeks. So shave your cheeks above where your beard is, and then shave back here as well. No one likes a neck beard. Shave down here. No one likes a neck beard. It's disgusting. And then what else I do as well, I would just recommend you finding a beard shape that suits your face. So I actually have quite a round face, so I have gone with more of a down and angular beard, because that's like kind of Viking. Combats the roundness. There you go. Oh, John, I love that. Viking. That's it basically combats the roundness of my face. So that's what I'd suggest, and I'd also suggest a beard balm, a nice beard balm. And keep your beard clean and smelling nice. And that's what I do. I currently am using cedarwood and bubblegum from... do you know what? I'm actually going to shout these guys out. Is it Who do I use for my beard balm? I'm going to get you because
no
it's
idea, mate.
It's a
I can't
local...
wait till we talk about the film again. Go on, tell us more.
What are you talking about? God damn it! Right, so when I come back next week, I'm going to tell you what beard balm I use. So that's the cliffhanger I'm leaving you on, and it's a local beard brand. John's had enough.
I have had enough of this. Right, well, I want to talk about the film. Right,
also,
go on.
Never mind. No, it's fine.
No, he's gone off. Right, we're talking
Take care of your beard. Take care of your beard, men out there.
So, Lester Burnham, very, very unhappy with life. He's not exercising. He hates his job. He works in marketing but can't stand it. He speaks on the phone. His boss tries to fire him, but he basically says that he's only staying in work because he knows that the company credit card's being used for extracurricular activities, which are not very suitable. And that's where we're at.
Yeah. He works in one of those office cubicles that, like
Fight Club.
I associate them, like, sorry, American listeners, but, like, you know, like, the film Office Space, where he's like, I'm going to need you guys to stay a bit late today. Like, I associate and it's same as Neo in the Matrix,
yes,
office cubicle.
Absolutely.
I just associate those office cubicles with, like, hell, and people go for like a 20-minute piss, like, just to get out of, like, being on the phone and stuff. I don't really know what those office cubicles are like, so we don't really have them in the UK. I don't think we do anyway.
Not anywhere I've worked.
You can't stand his job. He's getting made redundant. So he's getting made redundant from this job. He's being let go from a guy called Brad, who's really nice. And Brad, I've seen this film about 100 times, by the way.
Yeah.
Brad is like an efficiency guy. So he's one of the guys that come in. Everyone's probably experienced it in work except John, because he's self-employed. And he's the best cinematographer. Sorry. What are you?
Videographer.
There you go. In the UK.
Not true, but yeah, thanks.
So Brad comes in. He's an efficiency guy who basically is like, write down what you do all day, tell me how long it takes, and I'll decide whether you are worthy of a salary, and we're going to trim the team down. We're going to streamline things, and that's basically what he does. So as you say, he begins to blackmail his boss, whilst this big narration at the beginning comes in of how much his wife is like out there pruning the plants, and she's loving the neighbours. It's all fake.
And like, highlight of his day is with himself in the shower in the morning, and
with Mr. Happy.
With Mr. Happy, and
in the shower, yeah.
And like, his daughter basically just is that teenage phase where she kind of hates him and just doesn't
uncomfortable
speak to
place
him.
to do that, isn't it, John? In the shower in the morning. It's a bit early. But his daughter does hate him. She's 16, isn't she?
And then you've got new neighbours.
He's had enough.
I have had enough. Ricky Fitz and Colonel Fitz, played by Chris Cooper, who is excellent in this, by the way. And he's playing the right-wing dude who moves next door. And he doesn't know that Ricky is a bit of a strange guy. We see lots of, in the film, we cut between all this beautiful cinematography to like VHS kind of camcorder, well, probably mini DV tape at that point, but like camcorder recordings of like of just random things. One of them is a carrier bag in the wind. Other things are filming the neighbours, which I think is quite creepy. If I was a teenage girl, I was being filmed by someone with a camcorder at the door. Luckily, Wes Bentley's a good-looking guy, so he seems to get a pass on it. And we find out that Ricky Fitz is a character, played by Wes Bentley, who is a weed dealer. And when Lester Burnham's on his downward spiral of like giving up on society and not giving two hoots anymore, he decides to smoke a bit of weed. And essentially, the film kind of goes for. There's a few things of like false pretenses of like images and whatever, and basically Colonel Fitz throughout the film. There's gay neighbours that live next door to Lester Burnham, and they introduce themselves. One of them is Captain Archer of Star Trek Enterprise, Scott Bulker, and basically Colonel Fitz is worried about the environment he's moved to, and then he starts to suspect that Kevin Spacey's character, Lester Burnham, is gay, and essentially like he sees his son going to meet him at points, and as the film progresses, like more and more things he sees through windows which look far more suspicious than they are, like rolling up a joint, but it looks like he's going down, and it's just like it's and then Colonel Fitz. You're
skipping way too far ahead.
No, I'm not skipping too far ahead, because what I'm trying to say is like it's all about the perceptions and the viewpoints of what they're seeing, and they're all distorted, and the camcorder's like another side of that. And like Ricky's whole thing is he sees he sees the world through how he sees it on the camcorder, and
he sees the beauty
in
he sees the beauty in the mundane, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then you've got, like, Jamie talked earlier about Caroline Burnham and, like, the pruning the plants and stuff. She's obsessed with, and I completely understand this because it's played by Peter Gallagher, who is, of course, our dad, Sandy in the OC.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
he's like the salesman, and like he you know, fake it till you make it kind of guy.
He's the king of realtor. He's a realtor. Yeah,
he does everything like a king, and like he basically projects this image. There's his party, and Caroline introduces Lester to him, and he's just like, oh, we've met before and all this stuff, and like he doesn't give two hoots. But it turns out like Buddy has a kind of a bit of a thing for Lester's wife, and essentially an affair starts. But even when it cuts them having sex, like, he's still the king. Like, he's like, I'm the king. Like, he's still like, really about he's the king.
And do you know what? It's really important to mention, like,
it is a comedy, black comedy, but
like, and this humor is like so far up my street. I absolutely love it. What I would say is that, like, I watched this when I was in school, so probably when I was maybe like 15 years old, and I remember I always just remember, like, the reason I was getting given it was because of Mina Savari. Like, that was as a 15-year-old boy, that was why. Oh, this film's wicked, by the way, and it's actually really good as well. I just remember watching it, and that was probably like one of the first films I watched where I was like, this is like, without sounding wanky, but it will. This is films, like, these are films, like, this is what I want to.
There's a movie and a film, and they are different. We've had this chat before.
Like, this is really what. I love this. Like, I don't know what this is different to what I've seen before, but it feels special.
The cast is pretty impressive. I mean, let's be honest, Kevin Spacey's acting at the top of his game at this point. Annette Bening's very good. Wes Bentley is quite creepy. Mina Savari is a great, annoying teenage girl. I mean,
same year as American Pie, somehow.
There you
same
go.
year as American Pie.
And then Peter Gallagher's character, I think he's good fun. And then the most impressive one for me with acting and performance is the best scenes are probably between Ricky and Colonel Fitz. So Wes Bentley and Chris Cooper. Chris Cooper's an intense guy. Like, his performance he's essentially a repressed homosexual, isn't he? Like, he's been in the military. He's kind of had it drilled like that. He's from an era where he was completely against that, and he almost hates himself. Like, late on in the film, he makes a pass at Kevin Spacey's character Lester, and he's like crying, and obviously his frustration leads to the finale, which we'll talk about later. Yeah, and it's kind of showing how it's the downfall of all these people's lives from the images they're trying to project of themselves. That's what's so interesting about it. So you've got like Lester's kind of like given up, and he goes back to a burger, like flipping burgers and stuff.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't say he's given up. Like, I would say he's had his midlife crisis. He's had an awakening.
And he thinks he's found himself, but he's doing it on the wrong thing, because he goes to watch his daughter go cheerleading and then falls in love with Mina Savari, who is obviously 16 and they're 17. And then you've got the whole Caroline Burnham, his wife, is super like materialistic, and like
we see that though at the party. Like, so we're not sure at first, but when they go to the first party, I've got a few key scenes.
Yeah, go for it.
Lester, so like the cheerleading is obviously one of them, like, and we realise like what a comedy it is when like Jane's like quite half a step behind everyone else cheerleading, and she does like the wrong move, like really funny, and then it comes into this
Reem, like, kind of the spotlight hits Mina Savari, like everything else blurs and pretty much fades to black. It's literally like that.
And she's a fantastic cast in this, because she is got that, she's innocent, like, but as well can play like the sassy like side to her as well. Like, she's a
side of it.
Brilliant cast. The conversation outside with Lester and the two girls is like genuinely like so
awkward
and disgusting. Where he's like, he's like, oh, you drive, like, and all this shit, like, it's horrible. But that's when Lester has his awakening. Like, he says that's when he's like, oh, I feel like I've been in a coma for 20 years and I'm just waking up.
And like, also she stays over, and like she says, you know, if your dad worked out, it'd be kind of hot. And then he immediately then starts hitting the weights like really hard, and like it's grim.
But it's at the party. So the party where like basically Lester goes to the party with Carolyn. They're very unhappy. Like, you can just tell. She's so materialistic, and we see how obsessed she is with her social standing when she just wants Lester to behave. It's like the whole keeping up appearances thing. That, like, it's horrible when she's like, can't you just be, what is it? She says, can't you just be normal? He's like, I'll be whatever you want me to be, honey. It's just like, I'm just like, oh, this is gross to watch. But yeah, like, and then he's
that voice he uses at that bit is just like the voice he uses in Seven at the end as well, though. He's that kind of like disassociated kind of like
this one I didn't realize. This 1999 Sam Mendes' first film. It's
Best Picture
insane. It won 5 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Writing, Best Director, and by the way, it's still the 74th top-rated film on IMDb.
And just to say, another link to our next film, Best Picture, as is Rebecca, which was Hitchcock's only Oscar, I believe.
Yes, but did Sam Mendes win an Oscar for 1917? Who knows? I'm going to have a look at that. Anyway, but yeah,
cool.
It's £15 million budget, 9th
Insane.
highest grossing film that year. It grossed $350 million. So one thing I was thinking about, John, when I was reading that, I think that the days are gone of that, isn't they? Like where you would get a film like this. So like you would get a £15 million horror film that
this would
be
streaming now.
Huh?
This would be streaming.
This
absolutely.
Do you think?
So there's a new film coming
With
out
that
now.
Cast? And that
well,
writing?
for 15 mil, small budget. Oh, right. Let me rewind. There's a film that's coming out now, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, who obviously did Pirates of the Caribbean series, etc.
We love Jerry Bruckheimer. Yeah.
Big bang, expensive things. Excuse me. He is doing that film with Daisy Ridley, which is about the woman. I think she was the first woman to swim the channel, but it was like one of them like you can't do it, and it's back in olden days, right?
Olden days.
They I can't remember the
I need to find out what olden days is to you.
And they said that they're going to. It was designed solely to be released on streaming, but then Disney picked it up. Probably one because it's got Daisy Ridley in it.
The Young
but
Women
two,
in Sea.
because it, they do the audience scores.
Yeah.
Well, apparently it audience scored very well, but James' reaction tells me it's not done well critically.
2 stars.
Oh wow! So it ended up getting a theatrical release. Anyway, by the by, my point is, for films like this now, it depends. If you've got a star attached to it, then maybe it would. But like, was Spacey a star at this point? I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about his career at that point. I know Seven.
Yeah, well, was he not in the usual? He'd been in the Usual Suspects at that point.
Yes,
I think as well.
Okay.
Because I, without having him in front of me, like I don't really know. But I tell you what, him and Annette Bening both won like Best Actor and Best Actress that year, which is incredible. And I think
done Seven, Usual Suspects, LA Confidential, and American Beauty. So yeah,
there you go. Yes, sorry, LA Confidential was the one I was forgetting.
Sorry,
yeah, LA. Yeah, so I would say he's not the biggest star in the world, but he's pretty big. And Sam Mendes, he specifically handpicked Annette Bening and Kevin Spacey for that when he'd read the script. And every single actor that said when they read the script, it was the best script they'd ever read. And I've got to agree, like there's not a wasted line in this. It's all just really reminds me of In Bruges, kind of. It's got that exact humor, like that. Yeah, Banshees of Inisherin, like it's that exact, like not a line is wasted. It is
Succession
perfect.
as well in TV format. Succession's like that. It's very like the black comedy that comes through, and dramedy. I kind of hate that phrase, but it is true. Like it is exactly what it is.
Let's not use that again on the pod.
But let's talk about some of the really distinctive cinematography, which is whenever Kevin Spacey's in bed and he's looking up at the ceiling, he sees Mina Savari, but she's covered in the famous image, which is in all the posters, which is like loads of roses. She's lying in a bed of roses, looking at him alluringly. And the film is basically, because we need to talk about why this links to Rebecca. They are both linked by this idea of infatuation, this idea and perceptions of who someone is compared to who or what they actually are. Yeah. So throughout the film, Mina Savari's character is constantly, she's best friends with his daughter and talks about how much sex she's had and like how many people she's been with and how she's going to be a model one day. Yeah. And she hates people who are like, what did she say? Like the most depressing thing is people who are boring or something. Like, you know.
That's it.
I can't remember the exact phrase, but that's kind of where we're at. And then it turns out, and like we all remember from school or college or uni, there's someone who gives it the big I am. Bit like Jay in Inbetweeners for the British reference.
I think it was you for a bit.
And then it turns out it's all, thank you for that comment, which was completely unnecessary. It turns out to all be BS. And like her character, she's a virgin, and she's actually getting upset with Jane because Jane gets a boyfriend because Jane starts being with Ricky, and then with Jane being with Ricky, she realizes her friend's got a proper relationship and is starting to have sex, doing all these things, whilst actually she's not, and she almost becomes jealous of her, and it's like the image she's portraying and like what actually is happening. And then Jane, as her best friend, goes through the mill because she witnesses her boyfriend get battered by his dad because his dad has like links to some potentially shady like neo-Nazi setup. Like there's a plate he has which has the Nazi symbol on it, and then he shows it to Jane. I'm not quite sure why he shows it to Jane. I suppose it's just teenagers being like, look at this thing that I shouldn't be looking at.
I don't know, actually. Like,
just that kind of like edgy, like, oh, do you want to see something you shouldn't see?
You know, I know I've got like so many experiences with Nazis. It's so weird. Like in the place that I used to work in. Yeah, get this. So this is a little segue.
We've
in
done
the place
the football one on the pod before.
No, it's not. I know. Yeah, and I tell you what,
we've covered that.
I tell you what, the football analogy on the pod got like I was like I woke up in the morning to like the most views I've ever had and the most comments I've ever had, like basically like loads of people that have obviously hashtagged the word Nazi and are like, oh, he hates Nazis. That's not very good. Like, why are you
oh, God.
What did they say?
Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying about Nazi memorabilia. Like, I used to work in an old place. A listener will know about this actually. I used to work in an old place where like 3 guys got done for like being involved in like that kind of stuff, like, and basically their bags got raided in work and they had mace, nunchucks, and like really like weird stuff. Oh, and a taser. Yeah, nunchucks, mace, and a taser. And then their houses got raided afterwards, right? And they had loads of Nazi memorabilia in their houses, like loads of newspaper clippings, that kind of thing. So it's just like it's not surprising. Like it's just like quite a common thing that happens, and it's
twice. You say common thing, like is it that common? But anyway, I mean,
happened twice in my life. Put it this way, they're out in plain sight, so it's like common enough.
Well, Colonel Fitz has some ideology which
John's so good at bringing it back.
Yeah, I do try because keeping on track these days is bloody hard work. Anyway, so. Well, I don't know whether
sorry, Dad.
Colonel Fitz beats the crap out of Ricky, like basically,
brutal,
because he's got in there, and it's a savage scene. But as I said, the best sequences for me are actually him and his son because their relationship is so strange. So Ricky went to a military school, and like he speaks to his dad like an army sergeant, not like his dad, and their relationship's really like stilted and just not pleasant. His mum, the poor woman, just doesn't really talk. She has no life. They don't.
She's emotionally like she's kind of emotionally like
she's
broken.
Void.
Oh basically.
She looks like void of anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as Jamie says, we're watching Slice of Pie. We see all these different events. So we've covered
Slice
kind of
of
like
Pie.
the affair, and then obviously Lester works at the burger place. So what happens? Buddy Kane and his wife turn up at the burger place, he's buzzing about it. That's the best part. Is like he's buzzing about the fact she's had an affair.
No, do you know why? You know why though? He's buzzing about it because he's at home, right, and he's in bed and he's masturbating, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Nothing." And he like you hear this swallow in his voice, and I always remember that like it's like the swallow in his voice, right?
Getting the strength to say something back.
Yeah. He's like nothing. He's like, "You were masturbating. I won't stand for this." He's like, "I'll divorce you faster than you're make your head spin." And he's like, "On what grounds?" He's like, "I don't hit you. I don't cheat on you." Like and all this stuff. Like and so that's the first time he says exactly what he thinks, and that's all after.
And after he said it, he tucks himself up and smiles like a child. He's
that's
just
brilliant.
like, oh yeah.
He's fantastic in this. Like his performance is so nuanced in every way. Yeah,
and
carry on, sorry.
So we know about that affair, and the other things. There's a few things we should mention. Not only does he work out because he's trying to get prepped for the next time Amina Savari comes around to his house,
trying to get prepped,
literally. And then he also buys a Pontiac Firebird because it's like that's the car I wanted when I was 18. So I bought a Pontiac Firebird.
Rule.
Yeah, and it's just like okay. Anyway, it all builds to a crescendo, and that crescendo is, as I said. We've got Colonel Fitz believing that that Kevin Spacey's gay, And we know something bad's going to happen because classic film, it's chucking it down with rain. It's a bad night. Chucking it down with
such
rain.
good vibes, that is.
Caroline Burnham's fuming because she knows that in a divorce case she's going to be worse off because like she's the one who's had the affair. So she's got a gun. She's been going to a gun range previously to make herself feel good.
She's listening to a self-help book,
psyching herself up, being like, "You've got to take responsibility for your actions" or whatever. And then, okay,
one of the quotes I wrote down was like after she's like slept with the king, Buddy, he's like, she's like, oh, I feel so good, and then like you've seen her getting like absolutely railed, like legs in the air and everything. It's like completely comical. It's hilarious, and he's like, you know what I do when I'm feeling stressed? I fire a gun. And I'm just like, and I wrote Ron Burgundy afterwards because I was like, it's pure Ron Burgundy, man. It's so funny.
So chucking it down rain, evening, it's all kicking off. And funnily enough, Jane's having a sleepover with Angela, again, played by Mina Savari. And Ricky, this is just after Ricky's been battered by his dad because he thought he saw him with Kevin Spacey doing inappropriate things. Yeah. And basically, he runs to the house and says to Jane, "Would you leave with me tomorrow to go to New York if we could?" And it's that classic teenage nonsense. So, well, we can run away and everything will be fine. They're like, "What are you going to do for money?" "Oh, I'm a drug dealer, so it'll be okay." "Okay, then fine, off you go." And he's talking.
Forget about it.
Yeah, he goes about going to New York. Caroline's in the car coming home, so we've got the build up of like she's going to come back at some point. And then Lester's working out. And he knows that Angela's arriving soon, so he's doing his barbells and going for it. And then he opens up the garage door, and he sees Colonel Fitz standing in the rain. It's like something out of the Notebook, like standing in the rain, and it's like he's absolutely drenched. And then he comes up and he's like, "Are you okay? You must be cold." So he goes to give him a jacket, and then you're shocked because Colonel Fitz, played again brilliantly by Chris Cooper, starts to kiss him, and then Lester's like, I think you've got the wrong end of the stick here. That's not what's happening. Yeah. And then Colonel Fitz is crying because he doesn't know what to do, but he kind of just edges back. He looks almost like a zombie. He just like edges back because he's thinking, "What have I done?"
I don't see any edging, but.
And then I'm going to ignore that. And then we see that he's unhappy and he returns to the house. So that's the last we see of that situation. And then bang, we're in the kitchen, and there is Angela, after she's had an argument with Jane, and Jane basically says that to Angela, like, "Your life's a lie, you're boring, like you put on this facade and this isn't who you are, and it's embarrassing." And she feels pathetic, basically. She just feels like crap, and she wants to feel recognised and valued. In comes Lester, who's been obsessing over her now for many weeks or months, and she thinks at this point, "I want to sleep with him because I want to feel like I'm worthy," or worthy's not the word, but she wants to feel like she's built herself up as being this, like, what do I want to say, like a catch, or like being like the I am. And
she's not. She doesn't want to be normal. That's the thing. No, like, she wants to be adored, like
different. And she knows that Lester adores her, even if she doesn't find him attractive. So they start to, begin as if they're going to have sex, and then, as it gets down to it, she says, "I am a virgin." And then it's watching the light bulb go on for Lester, because one, he's absolutely in the wrong for even being in the situation anyway, but he doesn't care about that bit. Let's be clear, he doesn't care about that bit. The only thing which stops him is the fact he realises that she's actually a child, as in literally, because she says, "Oh, I'm a virgin," it makes him
goes
be
into
like,
dad mode, doesn't he?
Oh my god. And he's like, and then she's almost like upset he doesn't want to at that point, but he's like, "Don't worry about it. Here's a blanket. Calm down. I'll make you some food."
He immediately
as an
switches.
audience, it's a uncomfortable switch as well, because let's be honest, he's not a good guy, and the resolution doesn't make him a good guy either. And I feel like some audience members were complaining about this because they were making the point of like, "Oh, it's like glorifying it." I'm like, I'm quite the opposite.
Glorifying it?
Yeah, I don't feel like
glorifying what?
Like his relationship with her and his obsession and infatuation.
Shut up.
But considering what happens to him
at
the end, I feel like he deserves what comes to him.
Do you know what I would say? I would say that is the best resolution you could hope for a man like that. As in for what he's gone through, that is probably
situation.
The most positive outcome that you could probably have for him Although
But-
he's still done all those things.
Yeah, and it still doesn't condone any of
ridiculous.
the actions before.
No.
And the film isn't trying to do that, and I get frustrated when people imply that. But
It's not trying to do that.
And then what happens? So we see that he gets asked for the first time in a long time by Angela. She's like, "How are you? Like, are you okay?" And he realizes for the first time in, as Jamie said, like 20 years, "Oh, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm good." That kind of weird realization.
And he says, "Someone's not.
Messed
Nobody's
up
asked me
reasons,
that."
But like, yeah, I'm good. And like,
Yeah.
you know, and then she says, "I'm just gonna go to the bathroom." He's like, "Yep, fine." And then, bam,
Gunshot.
yeah. And I thought, because I hadn't watched it in a while, it was his wife.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because you do think that's the point. You think that because she's listening to her
Because-
self-help,
Yeah,
he's going to take half of everything. She's got a gun,
yeah.
and yeah.
But we see Colonel Fitz in a blood-stained, which wasn't blood-stained before, even after battering his son, blood-stained outfit, and he shot him, obviously because, I'm guessing because of the fact he's got these repressed feelings and then carried them out and then they've not been reciprocated. He can't
It's
live
because
with
he's
that.
so ashamed. He's so
and
ashamed.
He's
he can't,
ashamed.
yeah. He's just
So he
completely
shoots him.
ashamed.
And then we get we forgot to say there's an opening narration to the film, which is Lester saying about life, and he's like, he even says like, I'm about to die in the next few weeks, and this is what happens. It's one of those, right? And then at the end he talks about how what Ricky Fitz, his drug dealer's character, was saying throughout the whole film, his daughter's boyfriend, which is, it's about seeing the beauty in the small things in life. And as he gets shot in the head, he says, you know, people say when you die, you see a flash of images of all the things, you know, beforehand. And he says he actually realised at that moment the things he cared about the most and the core memories were of his wife, were of his daughter. They were nothing to do with having the Pontiac Firebird or flipping a burger
depressed.
or 30k, whatever it was, buy out from his company. Sorry, you know what I mean? Payoff. And it's just that
60K,
moment,
yeah.
or whatever. But it's just that moment of him realising, well, he's dead. But yeah, so there we are. I mean, and the theme
it's
for me,
wonderful, isn't it? It's
that's the link
wonderful.
with Rebecca is, again, it's the idea of like false pretenses of like putting out an image of who you are and how people view you compared
Inadequacy,
to what you actually
really.
are. The feelings of inadequacy, but also just like just the whole misrepresenting yourself to appease other people, essentially, and where that leads you. But yeah, I must say, it's the first time I watched this, and last time, similar to Jamie actually, that really weird. I hadn't watched this since I was about 16, or maybe the first time I watched it was when I was 16. I haven't seen it since. I feel like
watched
it
it a couple of years
resonated with
ago,
me
actually.
a lot more
Yeah.
this time in terms of, which can link to a question. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about it. There are some films that when you watch them for the first time, like they don't speak to you because you're not the right age to appreciate them. And I hate being that person saying it's not for you, but like there is a level of that. Like there are certain films that I view completely differently now to then how I used to before, which does lead to a question.
Go on, John.
From-
Segue.
Oh, I've got the email up with the actual question.
Are you
I
actually
have.
taking the piss at me?
No, I'm not. It is.
I've got it here if
what
you want it.
films did you watch? It's from Pod. I was trying so hard to do that well. It's from Pod Question, also known as Patch. Jeez, what film did you watch when you were young that now resonate with you more as you get older? Now, I've got a few, and like James is going to tell me off, but there are films that like when you watch as a kid, like they have a different meaning to others. No, so I was going to say, like, the obvious one is when I used to watch Fight Club, I used to watch Fight Club because it was cool and there's a bit of fighting and, like, Brad Pitt's in it and, like, I want to look like Brad Pitt and get six-pack. I ain't got it, by the way, so don't get excited. So, you know, and then...
You more look like Clark Kent, mate, with them glasses. I couldn't believe... We've not addressed the glasses. Can't believe we've not addressed the glasses.
It's an audio podcast.
It's not. It's a video one now. You turn up with glasses on.
Yeah, so basically, at the grand old age of 31, my eyes from... sitting doing video editing for too long get really strained, so I've been prescribed glasses.
I've been prescribed glasses.
Thanks. So sorry, the film I was going to say was, so Fight Club is the first example of there's things I took away from it when I was younger compared to now. Like, I understand some of the ideas of like not the way they carry it out, as we've talked about before, but like some of the frustrations those characters have, like you understand them more. Like there is a monotony to life, and like just keeping things going, and like doing the 9 to 5 and all those things.
enough,
I like we understand. Like it's
The 9 to 5. I think you mean the 7 till 9.
Yeah. And then there's other films where, like, when I used to like Rocky as a kid, I liked Rocky for the boxing. But now Rocky's about like struggle and perseverance and sticking with it, and there's things like that. And the other thing I'll say, and then I'll stop because Jamie can talk because I've been rambling for a while. There's certain things now that since I've become a dad, there's films that I view completely differently. I mean, Jamie always takes the piss because I talk about Euphoria. The way I watch Euphoria now is so different because I think, and it sounds awful, but I'm like, if my child was in that situation, how would I feel? Which I never would have thought about 18 months ago. It wouldn't even cross my mind. Like, it's just not how you think about it. You just see it as a person you relate to, or how when you were a teenager, and then it shifts. It becomes like, my child will be that age one day. What if they're in a situation or whatever? And it's mad. And like, we've joked before, like, I'm more emotionally compromised now. Like, there's things that like emotionally bother me that never used to bother me, and film and TV make me more upset and more relatable. But yeah, go on, you give us some clear cut examples rather than me rabbiting on that.
Not at all, mate. That's cute. I love it. I like that's not. And when I say cute, I mean it genuinely. Like, I'm not.
Thanks.
For once, I'm not taking the piss.
Just my glasses he doesn't like.
I didn't say I didn't like them. I just said you were wearing glasses and it wasn't addressed at the beginning of the pod, and it should have been. Can't believe it. And when he takes this is because when he's out doing his heroic shit, he takes them off and you don't recognise it's him. What films when I was young resonate with me more now? Like, I don't want to keep talking about Dirty Dancing. I really don't. So I'm not going to. But I've just mentioned it anyway. I'd say probably like Mortal Kombat, W.S. Anderson, like.
Don't make me laugh.
I realise the deepness of Mortal Kombat. No, I'm joking. No,
there are some underarching themes that you just can't resonate with as a child, but like as you get older, like finding the power within you, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, little did I know that the power was always within me. Sorry,
it was, mate. You're now like Billy from Billy from Blue Ranger, mate. You're such Blue Ranger.
Rangers. Oh,
yeah. Where's the Ginger Ranger? Anyway.
Was there a Ginger Ranger at any point?
No.
Oh, controversial.
Bullshit, mate. Mate, Gingers were too busy beating up Bruce Lee, and that Ginger was Chuck Norris. Anyway, I would say probably resonate with me more. So there's a lot of films out there that I probably understand more now when I'm older. So yeah. And this sounds weird. Like, stuff like Rocky 3 is a good example. Like, so Rocky 3 and like Clubber Lang, though. Like, so when I used to watch the Rocky films when I was a kid, like, I understand. I'd never seen Rocky 1 or 2 probably until maybe 5 years ago. So I'd always watched Rocky 3, 4, and 5, and Rocky 5 with the Russian. Like, that's the one, isn't it? Like, Rocky 5 with, like, you realize at the start of Rocky, I think it's Rocky 5 when he's like in a mess, like he's in a shower and he's like just in a really bad way. And I think me looking back on them now, Rocky 5, people think it's terrible. I've not seen it in a very long time, actually, with what's the guy's name? He basically becomes the trainer and then he fights him in a street fight at the end. It's so good. And he said the F word. But apparently it's terrible. Apparently it's like a literal 2 out of 10.
And the one after that, I was going to say, has that famous. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit.
I think that. Oh God,
Balboa. That was Balboa. But what I was going to say was that speech is the kind of thing that, as a 15, 16-year-old, sounded pretty cool. But then I think there's genuine, like, you relate that a lot differently when you're 25. You relate a lot differently when you're 31, and like, as you get older, you will struggle more in life because you have more responsibility and there are more things that happen to you, and like you just view
I used to watch Rocky as a I used to watch Rocky as a boxing film, and it's not. It's really so. The boxing is so secondary. It's a film about the relationships and family, and when like Rocky 3, like where Clubber Lang, like played by Mr. T, like, and he's like questioning Rocky's like balls and like his pride and stuff, like, and it's amazing, integrity. Like, and so when his integrity, like as a man, like, and when you watch that and like, you know, the famous Rocky, by the way, I do think Clubber Lang is in Rocky 3, that's his best foe, like, in all of the Rockies for me. When he's like saying he's outside at the press conference saying all these things, he's like, I'm gonna get you, like, and all this, like, it's incredible, like, and Rocky's like, So that's one of them. Like I realize now that like Rocky films are not just boxing films. Titanic is one for me where, like, again, these films, like, I'm going to mention a couple of films from the 90s. These films from the 90s when I was like in my formative years, and I'm like, Titanic is like, I just remember like pulling out the VHS and like there was barely no spool and it was all black tape, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Watching Titanic, you kind of just watch it for the spectacle as a child. As you get older, it's a sinking of a boat, and it's bombastic, and I'm watching it on VHS in 360p. But like as you get older and you watch it, you're like, right, this is not a boat film. Really? Well, of course it is. But sorry, like, we'll talk about Titanic in a bit, actually.
No. Do you know what? Let's do it now. I've got to tell you something. I don't know if I've said this on the pod. Like, I am terrified. I was always terrified of Titanic. I've watched it since, and the reason I was terrified was because when I was a child, I was on a ferry to France, and there was a cinema. This is true. There was a cinema on the boat, and it said Titanic was screening. Right. What? And I said to my dad, "Oh, what's that about?" As you do as a kid. And he was like, "Oh, it's about a boat that sank." And it was that moment when I went, "Boat sink."
Why did your dad tell you that?
I was like, "Boat sink." And then I was like weirdly obsessed with it for a while, because I was like, "Well, boat sink."
I'm not surprised.
Like, you know, that's weird. Boat sink. And then I had like a book about like survivors and stuff, which was really depressing. I'm trying to work out why I had this, but anyway. And then, like, it was one of those films that was always on at like Christmas and stuff. Now, I don't like in the sea when it's like that deep and it's just like, you know, it's pitch black down there, and you see like when they've got those floodlights shining through. So even like something like The Abyss makes me feel uncomfortable just because it's so oppressive down there. So I avoided Titanic for years and years, and then really weirdly, it had a 3D re-release. Oof. Probably not around the time of Avatar, so I don't know, 2011, 12, and that was the first time I watched it all the way through. I'd never seen it. I was too scared. I hated all the stuff with the boat flooding with the water.
Oh, so good, isn't it?
Couldn't deal with it. Isn't it weird? Just one of those things where like that's just like a key core. That's a core memory of my childhood. Though, being like just the memory of boat sink.
Like, hey, we're 76 episodes in, man, and you're delivering gold like that.
I'm on a boat and boat sink.
John's scared of boats. Who knows? Who knew that?
No, I've been on plenty of boats since, but it's just
I was on a boat with you 2 years ago.
You were. But it's just. Yeah, jeez, it was 2 years ago. But it's just that idea of like, as a kid, there's some things you just never think of, and then there's that day where you get told it, and then it's like your whole world changes because you're like, oh my god, I'm on a dangerous thing. I'm in danger.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so like, anyway, Titanic is like you watch it for the spectacle as a child, but you don't realise as you're older like that it was a thing that happened, and they've got these little interviews at the end and stuff. Titanic is another film I've watched loads, by the way.
And it's about love and loss and like what that means, and like I sound so like wanky over it, but it genuinely has got a lot going for it. It is.
What did you say? Paint. What did she say? Paint me like one of your
French girls, Jack. Something like that.
Paint me like one of your French girls, Jacques. Anyway, and then the last one I've got, because I had to I was thinking about this, like, Patch. Little did you know, I was a smart kid, you know, so I just figured most of it out already, you know.
Oh yeah.
No, Truman Show was like one that kind of, again, like I just watched it when I was a kid and thought that it was
a rubbish comedy.
Yeah, well, I was obsessed.
You know what I mean? As a kid, if you know Jim Carrey, you'd be like, "Oh, this isn't comedy. This isn't what he does."
No, that was another film that I kind of just I thought it was really good when I watched it, but I didn't really know why. Like, I liked the fact that he was being spied on and all that, but then all of the fact that he was like living in
a fake world.
So now when I think, I will often make references to it. Like, I'm like, is this the Truman Show? Like, because I feel like I'm getting the piss taken right out of me right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if like cameras.
Someone's on me.
Yeah, so I think quite often about that.
There's a great post that someone put the other day saying, if you're ever not sure if we live in the Matrix or not, ask yourself, have you ever seen your neighbours bringing in their food shopping for the week? And I was like, oh my god, I have never seen my neighbours bring their food shopping in ever.
Nor have I, no. Nor have I.
Sorry,
no, that's like, I've literally...
word you just said. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying neither have I. Like, I've literally never seen
mad, isn't it? And when
so what do they eat?
Well, they do eat. They obviously do the shop when we're not there.
Do they do a food shop?
it's just one of those things where like someone says it, you're like, oh my god, yeah, well, mind blown. I was gonna say
right into the moviesinaPODshell at gmail.com and let us know if you've ever seen your neighbours. I've seen my neighbours at the shop sometimes, which I would avoid them like the plague, because to be honest, I like having quiet neighbours, and I don't ever. The best neighbours are the ones you never see and never hear and pretend that they're not there. So has anyone ever seen their neighbours bringing the shop in? I want to know. Last
film before we go on to Rebecca, which is film that meant different things to me. I used to love Team America World Police as a teenager because I found it funny that there were puppets doing stupid things and shooting each other. I then later realised it was a whole criticism about the war in Iraq and like the American government feeling like they could go around, etc., etc., etc. So that for me is one of those films where like a complete lack of understanding of like the subtext, and then until older watching it being like, oh, that's pretty smart. Also, it's got some funny dumb jokes in it. Anyway,
we've got another question just about American Beauty that we could crack off right now.
Yes,
crack one off. Just like Kevin Spacey many times in American Beauty. Film Forager writes in and she says,
I was loud.
Name 3 things more beautiful than a plastic bag twirling in the wind.
So it is an interesting choice. That was like the shot they went for, but it's kind of so like mundane that anyone can apply
when he's
themselves
like,
to it or whatever.
You know, when the world's just beautiful and you just can't take it.
Can't take it. It's too much. I'm so angsty. To be fair, listen to a few emo albums. You probably
and he's definitely listening. He's definitely while he's watching the plastic bag roll around in the air, he's listening to "Take Us to Your Grave" by Fall Out Boy, which is a great choice, by the way. That's not true, but that's what I'd have had in the background. You know?
So I had some like jokey responses to this and some serious ones. So my jokey ones
don't cry.
I know. Right, that's for you, Kate. So yeah, I had some jokey responses to this. So the jokey ones were, I mean, Charles Leclerc, I love my Formula One. Beautiful man, beautiful driver. There we go. Second one, it's fine, Jamie. If you don't know, you don't know. You're not on the hype. Second
Charles
one.
Leclerc.
He won Monaco this weekend, so I was buzzing.
Yeah, he's pretty fit, to be fair. How old is he though? I think he's. Do you know what? He's a bit too young for you.
What's that supposed to be?
Don't worry. You were saying he's a beautiful man.
Old. I'm 31.
Yeah, he's 26.
Oh,
that's fine. That's an okay age gap.
The second one is an Aston Martin DBS. It's a beautiful car. If I saw that in the countryside, I think that's one of the most beautiful things you can see. More beautiful.
DBS. Not a Mark III Mazda 5.
MX-5. That probably, to be honest, if at this moment in time, as I don't have my old Mazda MX-5 Mark III, I probably would prefer that to seeing a carrier bag in the wind as a beautiful image at the moment. But there we go. Genuine ones, I was going to say. So I've put like I quite like walks in nature, which sounds dull, but there we go. So the obvious ones were like, you know,
he's on there.
Why is Jamie laughing at me?
I like walks. I like walks in nature. Sorry, I've got some nice ones as well. I'm just,
but I was gonna say, so like stupid stuff like if you go to like, we're very blessed. I used to live relatively close to Sutton Park. Like having that on your doorstep, just seeing the cows in the fields and stuff was incredible. Or just like really.
By the way, I'm joking. By the way, it was a joke.
There's so many things.
That's nice. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Autumnal day or
autumn. Yeah, love a bit of autumn.
Love a bit of autumn. And then the other one I was gonna say, and this is really cheesy, but my child like walking or stuff like that are just like. Those are the things that flash to me.
Can't make a joke about that, can I?
No, you can't. Shut your face.
Nah,
what are you going to go for?
What am I going to go? Name 3 things more beautiful than a plastic bag twirling in the wind. Someone getting punched who is crying whilst filming a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Like maybe. That'd be pretty beautiful. No, I'm kidding.
Used to love Dirty Sanchez, so you probably would be into that.
Oh, I love Dirty Sanchez. It's so good. So for me, like, if I'm being completely honest, things that I love more, things that are more beautiful than a plastic bag. By the way, great question, Chandra.
Yeah, good shout. It's caused debate.
So there's a few things that I really, really love, and as I've got older, I'm 35 now. So there's things in life that I do quite love. One of them is, and this is really weird. Sunday morning, we've got a church quite near us, and once I've got out of the shower, I usually get up quite early because I'm older now, so I don't lie in bed all day. But I will often hear the church bells outside, and I love the sound of church bells on a Sunday. It's just something like I'm not religious really. it's just nice, like, you know, like ding ding ding, ding. It's really nice. I love that's really nice. I love, and man, I sound like such a wank. I quite love the sound of like just pouring rain. You know when the windows.
Oh well,
open.
we had it earlier. You were buzzing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you were loving the end of American Beauty when that rain was like, tipping down. Yeah, go on.
You know, tipping it down. It's tipping it down, bub. You know when you're in your house, right, and you've got like there's nothing to do, like you've got no plans that day, and you can hear the rain lashing at the window, and you just know it's a movie day. That's
wow, I don't quite have that luxury anymore.
Not anymore.
But what I was going to say was like I do quite like so we have a conservatory, and like when you're in there, like hearing the rain on that is like the most satisfying thing, because it's like all glass. I will sit in there and work, and like I can hear that. I completely get it. So
the other thing, what was your last thing, right, is Monday I work from home on a Monday, and so one thing I will do to take as a liberty on a Monday is I will walk. I usually do a 3-mile walk on a Monday, and during that walk I will go and get a coffee from my local independent coffee shop, which is a banger, by the way, really good. The Steam Room, you should go there. Try not to find out where I live and be weird.
I was gonna say,
yeah, it's a bit weird. So then, down from the Steam Room, after I've had my my complex light roasted coffee, hints of berry, I will then walk through the woods. And the nicest thing ever is sometimes I just take my headphones off, because I usually walk with headphones. I take my headphones off, and there's loads of just birds chirping and stuff like. And I didn't really used to listen to much. But
the piss out of me for saying going into the like nature, like seeing animals.
That's why it was
and, like,
just jokes, isn't it?
Autumnal, yeah.
It's all just the jokes are for the listeners. That's it. He took the piss out of me. I say a lot of nice things about you as well. So
you do offer, you do.
I'm just a piss takery person. So yeah, I love that. I didn't used to really like bird. I didn't really used to notice birds much, but my other half loves birds, so like I now notice them all the time. So I love birds.
I thought you were referring to her as a bird then for a second, and I realised you weren't. So
no, she's a woman. Like why would I do that? That's my bud next door. No, we'll never do that. Derogatory.
Swiftly moving on. We are heading all the way over to the United States of America for Alfred Hitchcock's first production over there with
US of
David
A. Oh yeah. Sorry.
It's the 1940 picture. Oh, Jamie's got his ambulance sirens going.
He's called it a picture because it's 1940.
Rebecca.
Announcing the return of the most glamorous motion picture ever made, David O. Selznick and Alfred Hitchcock bring you the Grand Slam prize winner that made motion picture history. Winner of the Academy Award, voted by America's critics as the best picture of the year. And now, as a result of a national poll, winning new honors as audiences throughout the country vote to see it again. The Selznick Studio's successor to Gone with the Wind, Rebecca.
So, I'm excited to talk about this. I've got, for the people who are viewing the video, my big Hitchcock Bible right next to me. It's a great book. It's a Taschen book. Would recommend.
I love Taschen.
And it says the complete films of Alfred Hitchcock. It's got a little behind the scenes of his whole career, and then just some in-depth synopsis about each film, and then a bit of the production stuff behind it. I'm also reading a book about behind the scenes of Marnie, but all his films are so interweaved and linked with themes and ideas that you end up reading about Rebecca when you're reading about Marnie, etc.
Wow.
So, brief history on this. Hitchcock had built his career up in the UK, in England, sorry, and essentially he wanted to get to the States because he knew the war was coming. He had friends who lived over in France, and they'd done some work over there previously, and they'd done some trips, and they kind of knew what was coming, and he wanted to get his family safe. He wanted to get over to America. So when he had the offer from Selznick had his own production studio at that point. His first picture, Selznick's as producer, was Gone with the Wind, which is a very literal adaptation of that book, and as we know is mega successful. He signed Hitchcock as his director to come through and be like his next money-making machine, really. 7-picture deal, I believe it was at the time. The original plan was he'd come over and do... Sorry, go on. 4-picture deal.
It was 4. I think it was 4.
Okay.
Only because of sorry, I think it was 4.
No,
only because so we don't get rinsed in the comments.
And then essentially the first film he wanted to do, or was called over to do, was The Sinking of the Titanic, and Selznick looked at buying I think it's called the Leviathan, which was a massive ship, and they were going to sink it for real. Hitchcock had all these plans for it, and funnily enough they worked out it was going to be very, very expensive and unfilmable at that point.
So they decided to buy the rights to Marnie instead, which Selznick did. Now, Hitchcock previously, when he took a book, he would take an idea or a general theme, and then he would make his version of it and do his version of the screenplay and make it more fit within the kind of themes he likes, right? Selznick was the complete opposite. As I said, he had success with Gone with the Wind, which was a very literal adaptation. So Hitchcock and Selznick clashed throughout the entirety of this production, mainly because Selznick was like, keep it to the book. Hitchcock was like, I want it to be different. I want to introduce these ideas. So it's an interesting behind the scenes, but I think someone summed it up really well when they said some of the greatest Hitchcock films come from like some of the best collaborations. And when those films start to tail off in the later period of his career, it's when those collaborations stop. It's kind of like the echo chamber where everyone thinks you're so great and everything's correct. So you don't get that. Was at the start, he was challenged. So you get these multiple masterpieces. I think Rebecca is a brilliant film. Like, I loved it. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to talking about it. But yeah, let's give a brief synopsis. So Rebecca is a film about a self-conscious woman juggles adjusting to her new role as an aristocrat's wife and avoiding being imitated by his first wife's spectral presence. So film opens, got this amazing narration, and it's saying that this woman keeps dreaming of Manderley. And Manderley is this amazing country house in Cornwall. And basically we're seeing like this tracking shot going up to the property, and this lady keeps dreaming of it, and the voiceover is Joan Fontaine talking about it. At the start of the film, Hitchcock themes here are present. It's kind of the idea of class and how it switches. There's some weird kind of like characters who are trying to relive their past or trying to reshape people in a different image, to almost like bring back the dead. So very similar ideas to what we've seen in Vertigo, similar ideas which then get repeated later in his career with Marnie. So it's got loads of Hitchcockian traits, but it's not like his later things in terms of him having full authorship. It's more of a collaborative process. Yeah, sorry, Jamie, I've done a big intro there, but I'm excited.
No, man.
So yeah, let's.
That was great.
Let's talk about it.
What I love about this is that quite often you and I we've got our wheelhouses, and so sometimes I'll take the lead, sometimes you will take the lead. You happen to read lots of books and stuff, so you've read a lot about this. And so this is your wheelhouse. So Rebecca, I have the book by, is it Daphne de, what's her name? Daphne de, I can't remember, but Daphne de Maurier.
Daphne du Maurier.
Daphne du Maurier.
She also wrote Jamaica Inn, which Hitchcock adapted, and she absolutely couldn't stand.
Right. Well, I think she's like a prolific writer. And so like I went into this. You know me. I love a black and white as well. And this is probably one of the earliest films I've seen, like 1940. Yeah. The book had only been written 2 years before this. Yeah. And so I loved the thing I loved the most was the behind the scenes stuff. Reading and listening about. Is it David O. Selznick? Isn't
Correct.
It?
Yeah.
David O. Selznick, who was actually, although they clashed on set quite a lot, because as John said, Hitchcock was like, well, no, I'm going to adapt it my own way, and I want the control. On the other hand, David O. Selznick had just come off of Gone with the Wind, and he was like, well, actually, like,
mega
look
success.
At me. Yeah. Shut your mouth, and let me. So the fact that like Hitchcock, what I love about Hitchcock is like he just unbending. Like he's just like I'm sure they had to have a relatively decent relationship because they had a picture deal together, and I think they went on to do. Spellbound they had a film in between this and Spellbound. I can't remember which one it was, but they did Spellbound together as well, which actually he won. They won. I want to say someone won Best Picture for that. Might have been Best Actress. So I think for Spellbound, Joan Fontaine won Best Actress. And for this actually, she was relatively not very known actress, and Hitchcock wanted her, and really spent loads of time with her.
He talks about wanting to coach her through a performance to prove that in Hollywood he can make a star, or like he could.
Yeah, and I really loved like hearing about that. How he like basically, as you said, like coached her, mentored her, and said like, "This is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it." And I'm not gonna say that he made her what she is, because obviously she is the person. Like she's an actress in herself. But it's amazing to see that like a film later, like, or 2 films later, she goes and wins Best Actress, and he didn't spend any time with her. So I love that, and I just love the behind the scenes stuff of this. How it was his first film in Hollywood was supposed to be, was it Titanic? A film about Titanic, which which you sent a video over actually, which I watched today. So tell us about that. Do you know much about it?
Well, just interesting. Hitchcock was like, okay, if you buy I think it was called the Leviathan, the boat they were looking at, like genuinely like a massive cruise liner. He was like, we're gonna have this close up of a bolt, and then we're gonna zoom back. I'm not doing the Hitchcock voice, but because he's so like, I love hearing his voice, and then you zoom back, and then see the giant ship. I was like, that would have been incredible, because what they did back then they were able to kind of do 4 zoom shots and tie them together to make it look like one continuous zoom. Right. They knew how to like stitch the image and where to like do the cross. I love that. So why is that different from today then? Because now you probably get a zoom lens which could probably do that. So you get the lens that done the whole zoom, but I'm not sure. They would maybe not quite that wide, but it could do a damn close job. Or to be honest, now it'd be a drone shot, wouldn't it? You just have it super tight and then pull back. But obviously you got to. What would they have done back then? I'm only asking because the listeners say if you've got a zoom lens that goes a certain amount of distance and it only goes back to like, I don't know, let's say 4 meters for ease. Obviously, how wide do you need to be to get the entire boat in? Pretty bloody far. So you'd have to take that shot over and over and over and move it to the relevant points and stitch it all together to be one continuous take. I love that. But I love how they did stuff like that. In black and white cinematography, you can get away with that more, I believe, because like it's easier. They were saying how hard it was. So Gone with the Wind was in colour, and Selznick talks about how hard it was to match colours at that point, because the process was VistaVision was like I think it was VistaVision. But anyway, the colour filming process was very difficult to maintain the same colours throughout, whilst black and white was easier for them to do. So the things I love about this film, I mean, we normally don't go too plot heavy on the second one, and I feel like we'll dance around it, but essentially when the film starts, we meet Joan Fontaine, and she's essentially like, she's the help for someone else, isn't she? Basically, she's looking after Florence Blates, who plays Mrs. Van Hopper, and she basically does whatever she's told to do, which is like arrange rooms for her or look after her. And she happens to meet Maxim de Winter on a day trip. Well, no, she goes to some cliffs and it looks like he's about to jump. That's what happens. Yeah. Plays by Laurence Olivier. And essentially they hit it off, and he starts to take her out. But at this point, Mrs. Van Hopper constantly thinks she's the one who's in with Maxim de Winter and keeps sending him notes. Oh my god, it's really funny. And he doesn't reply, and then she's getting like really miffed about it. She's probably like 20-30 years his senior at this point, I don't know, or the implication is. I love the Hitchcockian humour, don't you? Just the kind of like, he always puts someone in who just like
well, she's the butt of the joke. It's sadly and I thought she would have been. So it's weird because her what's her name? Sorry,
Mrs. Van Hopper.
Mrs. Van Hopper. I thought she was the antagonist. So
initially,
the one thing I will say is that like this is 2 hours and 10 minutes, which is like
it's
very long for a film back then. Most films were like, you'd be lucky if they were 90 minutes, like genuinely. So I was like, oh, Mrs. Van Hopper's like, she's the antagonist, she's the one. And so I was watching this and I was like, the one thing I noticed about this whole film was that there's loads crammed in. The pacing is brilliant. It's got all sorts. You've got your initial scene with Van Hopper, who you think is like actually the one that's gonna
cause grief later down the line.
Cause loads of grief.
Because essentially Fontaine sacks her off. She becomes the new Mrs. de Winter.
Who's wonderful, by the way. She's wonderful.
She marries Maxim, pretty damn sharp. It's like shotgun wedding kind of situation. And she goes from essentially being the servant to being like the person who's going to be served. Essentially, she becomes like I don't think she's a countess, but something like that, like a semi-regal figure in England. And like, Mrs. Van Hopper's not happy about it, and as Jamie said, like it gives a good false line of like maybe she'll be the antagonist, and the real antagonist of this picture isn't even seen on screen. Essentially, the whole film really truly starts when you get to Manderley. So at the start of the film, she says, I dream of Manderley. It's this place. Hitchcock taught us about how Manderley, he wanted it to be a character in itself. It was never a real house. It's all models. They had models of different sizes. Yeah. Jamie's like looking shocked. No. I noticed actually. I actually noticed. Yeah. The model for the house was so large it filled like a massive soundstage, and they couldn't get some of the shots they wanted to because the model was so big. So then they had to build a smaller one to get certain angles, which I thought was really cool. When
you say like it was so big, like what size are you talking for a model? Like
the size of the door was about the size of my forearm. So that's pretty big miniature. Like in Lord of the Rings terms, they used to call them bigatures, didn't they? When they were like over a certain size. It's pretty big. Yeah. And anyway, so the reason model work was used a lot at this point, just so people know, is because production value wise, it was easy to add production value through using trick shots with matte paintings or like models. So the House of Manderley itself is a model. Inside in Manderley, there's like matte paintings used to make rooms seem a lot larger than they are. There's some use of rear projection, but not all that much. The best use of rear projection we'll get into.
You can kind of see the rear projection, I think.
There's one sequence I bet you didn't see it, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, okay.
So Mrs. De Winter, the new Mrs. De Winter played. I'm just going to say Joan Fontaine for ease because it gets complicated. We'll say Mrs. De Winter. No, we'll say Joan Fontaine and we'll say Rebecca because it's easier. Rebecca was the first wife of Maxim De Winter, and she died, and we don't know the circumstances behind it. Throughout the film, it's hinted at: did she kill herself, or did she run away? Did she? It's not. It's kind of like teased out. Basically, there is a housekeeper called Mrs. Danvers, who I said to Jamie looks like something out of a modern horror film because she's dressed in all black and like she's got a creepy walk.
She's brilliant.
Hitchcock did weird things where like in the wide shot she isn't in the shot, but then she's in the close shot coming into frame. So like technically it's a mistake, but it makes it feel more like unnerving. And
he asked her not to blink, so he told her to. He said to her like, don't like blink as little as possible.
Played by Julie Anderson. Who was also a Vulcan in Star Trek: The Search for Spock.
Actually, genuinely.
Yeah, she actually was. Yeah.
You're so funny, man.
Anyway, Mrs. Danvers, for me, is the real antagonist because, well, there's kind of two. Yeah. She's obsessed with Rebecca, the woman who was before, and she doesn't hate Joan Fontaine's character because she's married to Maxim De Winter. She hates her because she's not Rebecca. And, like, at the start, she's like, they do all these social functions. She's like, well, Rebecca did this. Or Mrs. De Winter did this. And it's that kind of like grinding her down. There's this whole room. She's like, I don't want to see it because it's the original Mrs. De Winter's room. And eventually we get to see this room. And it's creepy because it's kept like a shrine. And you got to remember this is the late 1930s, 1940s production. Like, you couldn't get away with saying and doing certain things, but it's heavily hinted at and implied that Mrs. Danvers was absolutely obsessed with Rebecca, and potentially she's got her like lingerie on the bed, and she's
she's like, you can see through it,
see the skin, like you see the skin, and it's like, oh man, like this is creepy, and it's basically watching this horror like character just break down the new Mrs. De Winter. And her relationship with Maxim suffers because we think that he keeps having weird reactions where he's like, stop bringing up Rebecca, I'm done with it. And it makes you think it's because he misses her. And the big plot twist is, are we going to go into it? Are we going to go into it?
I think so. I think that if
as it's from 1940?
As it's literally 84 years old. And that took me far too long to work out, but it's 84 years old.
He didn't like he wanted to bin her off. Like, essentially she died in an accident, but like he was confronting her at the time. So he did not kill her, but she did die when she was having an altercation with him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the only reason it sounds as convoluted as that is because, unfortunately, of censorship at the time. The RCA wouldn't allow for a central character to like kill someone and get away with it. So the whole latter part of the film annoys me because up until the part when it explains what happened, it does feel like it would have been stronger if he'd done it. Do you know what I mean? And followed through with that. And how does that affect his relationship with Joan Fontaine, who is genuinely in love with him? Would she still love him despite that act? And then I feel like Joan Fontaine's, my criticism of this film is she's missing for like the last 15, 20 minutes because the men go to sort out the court case. She faints in court and then basically it's like, oh, we'll go and do this, blah, 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 and they go off for a bit. And that's where it loses me. And all of that is because of what the the censorship wouldn't allow to be done. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's a convenience thing. And
so that's because of Hays Code. Like, it's funny because I mentioned it last episode, and obviously Hays Code, again, I'll say it again, came in 1934, and it was there till like the late 60s. So there has been theories of the fact that Mrs. Danvers was kind of like wanted a lesbian relationship with Rebecca and was like liked her in that way. And so but it's funny because back then when Mrs. Danvers, the actress, was interviewed, she was like, no, like that's just not even the case. Like, but like, again, with Hitchcock does this a lot. He just leads you to this. It could be the case because there's a lot of these. Yeah, exactly. There's very, very, like, I can't quite do any more than this, but yeah. So again, like, it's a shame. And I did mention to you, didn't I, that this film reminded me a lot of
Gaslight.
1944. Yeah, Gaslight. Well, there's actually, so the one with Gaslight from 1944 is Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer. But there's one before that which I actually haven't seen, which is I think it's not even that long, like 1940. But Gaslight from 1944 is, and it's where the term gaslighting comes from. Is what an amazing film, and I think it's actually better than Rebecca, if I'm being completely honest. And sorry about that. I thought Rebecca was fantastic, but Gaslight is brilliant. It's about a woman who marries a man, and the man moves into her home, and the man is actually like at the time, like the lights on the wall were powered by gas. So if you had a light on the wall, it would literally be ignited by gas. And so the whole thing is about this woman who is her husband keeps telling her convinces her that she's sick and she's mental. Sorry, mental, I shouldn't say that. That she's having like crazy thoughts. Probably shouldn't say that. You know what I mean? So yeah, like her husband convinces her that she's having all these thoughts and like things are happening. You do you not remember putting it in your bag? Like, and this kind of thing. She's like, no, I don't remember. And it starts off like that, and it escalates, and he gaslights her into like thinking that she's crazy, while actually what he's doing is every single night he's leaving, going to do all these things. He's like, you're not fit to come. You can't come because you're not well. Yeah. The lights go on in the room, and she's like, what's going on? The lights are going on. And and the reason the lights are going on is because he is going up into the loft from back. So he's going out the door, round the back of the house, up into the loft to try and look for her family heirloom, to get the fortune and to leave. And he has to use the gaslight to get up there. So by the way, brilliant film. And I said to John, like, we could have paired it with that, but I just think it would be a bit not great for a lot of the listeners, because they'd be like, well,
two old films together is usually too much as well, unfortunately. But
yeah,
hey,
save us two musicals.
Yeah, big crash. So the reason we picked Rebecca, apart from the fact that DVD arrived and I really wanted to watch it, was
like literally
and available on YouTube, was the themes we were talking about. So let's link this back. So why does this link with American Beauty? American Beauty was all about people being unhappy in their lives and like the facade they put out there. Yeah. So in the whole film of Rebecca is revered by people. What a wonderful woman she was. Like, I wanted to be here and all this stuff. And then Maxine's like, she was a nightmare. She didn't want to be with me. It was all for show. She tried to make my life hell by putting out this image to make it look awful. You know, like, she tried to set me up, and he hated her. He didn't want to be with her. But he felt trapped in a relationship with her. And it's interesting because it's got similarities to the film we linked it with. The second part of that is the idea of obsession. So, in the first film, clearly Kevin Spacey's character is obsessed with his daughter's friend, the cheerleader, played by Mira, I've forgotten the second name.
Mina Savari.
Thank you very much. And then it's the image he builds up of her and realises she's not that person. That's the exact same in Rebecca. Joan Fontaine is throughout being like, I'm building this image of who Rebecca is. She's this perfect like idyllic woman. I'm never going to live up to her standards, and like kind of resents her and all these things. And it's ruining her marriage with Maxim. And then it turns out when she finds out Maxim hates her, she's quite relieved. She's like, oh, she's not great. Brilliant. Good. Yeah. Also, she died though, and it sounds like you may have killed her. And then brilliant Hitchcock when we see, instead of, they initially had the idea of Rebecca coming in like a flashback to show what happened to her, and they were like, no person's going to be glorious enough to represent Rebecca after how it's hyped up. We're not going to show her. We're going to have a camera pan across all the different items that they're talking about where the action happened, and just let it be in the you are going through the POV of someone looking around the room and seeing it without seeing anything. And it's fantastic. And like Hitchcock's brilliant at those subjective camera angles and making you feel part of the action. Love it. In terms of minor critique, I found, like, I feel like at the start of the film the music felt really incessant to me. Like, it felt pretty non-stop.
Which is really weird, because I was like, I love the score.
Yeah, but didn't you feel like it was very, like, whatever they were doing, there was something
when
going?
You said to me, so it was really funny, because I was like, I was watching it, you kind of changed my opinion on it a bit, and I was like, I really like the score, and you were like, yeah, but it doesn't stop. And then because I text John probably like 20 minutes in, like, the score's and then he's like, yeah, but it doesn't stop. And I was like, it actually doesn't. Like, and it's like it's incessant, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I literally was saying to Jamie as well, I was like, message me when you get to Mandalay. When you get to Mandalay, we'll talk. So final things, we'll wrap it up because we are running pretty long. Mandalay,
the listeners love it, John, on their free podcast. But
Hitchcock talked about like Mandalay being a character, the house itself. So I love the fact it's this gothic. He actually said he saw Rebecca as a horror film. Like, it's not a horror film, but like the way he presented it is like, we talked about Miss Danvers being this kind of like horror-like character. The way she moves is really unnerving. The way she doesn't blink, and like the way her like kind of odd relationship with, she kind of wants Joe Fontaine to like dress like Rebecca at one point, which is similar to what happens in Vertigo, which is obviously Jimmy Stewart's character loses someone early on in the film and then tries to recreate someone in their image. And again, that links to other things later in Marnie. Like, Marnie's someone who constantly changes their appearance, then Sean Connery's character tries to affect that. There's similar themes.
Spoilers for Marnie. We're watching that together.
Oh, I cannot wait to watch Marnie. Again, it's been a while. And yeah, it's a very it's not the Hitchcock weirdly tried to disown this at later points. It's such a shame because there's so many Hitchcockian moments to it.
That's brilliant.
When he says he tried to disown it, it's because later in his career, and I've talked to Jamie about this, he wanted to be taken seriously as an artist, and his work only got really noticed in a different light and not just as the thriller man in terms of like the late 60s to the 70s, like with all the stuff with Truffaut. And I think he looked back on this was like, that's not my full authorship, because this is, without getting too into it, there's an idea of auteur theory, and auteur theory is like the director has his fingers over every part of the production all the way through, and like it's his voice, his single thing, and his vision is what's come through. And Truffaut listed a load of films he felt had that, and it's pretty much all the ones from like the 50s when he went and did like
Psycho,
and just quickly, like I personally do believe in auteur theory. I did it at university, and I wrote a whole thing about why I thought Fincher was an auteur. Then hilariously, Fincher said in an interview that he doesn't believe in it. But there we go. And there we go. Because he had the idea of like,
and that first is now a third.
Yeah, because he said like, I hate the idea of that my mistakes as much define me as the things I do right, and auteur theory implies that. But anyway, that's another chat for another day. The fact is, like, Hitchcock with this film didn't have full authorship because Selznick had such a big part. And it wasn't his adaptation, it was an adaptation that Selznick gave him, which he directed. So I can see why he tried to disown it. But in terms of like most normal people's levels and like actually what it is, it's a fantastic picture. And like, you can tell when I'm watching classic films, because I call them pictures, not films, because everyone did back then, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's 2 hours 10. Stick with it. It's like, you can watch it on YouTube, as I said.
It's rapid. No. You like, stick with it. It's rapid. There's a beginning holiday sequence.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. No, I don't. There's a beginning holiday sequence. They're romancing. They're in Mandalay. Then there's a courtroom. There's a 12 Angry Men style Inquisition.
There is.
There's about 4 twists in it. No way. Love it. And one thing I just thought was hilarious when like so you were talking about auteur theory. No, now there's a theory that actually Hitchcock is maybe like bar Chaplin, maybe, is the first ever director that people would be like, we're going to watch a Hitchcock picture.
Yes,
rather than say, oh, we're going to go watch a Jimmy Stewart. Yeah, we're going to go watch a Jimmy Stewart like film. We're going to go watch a Hitchcock film. He was the first guy that did that, and that's amazing because that's because he stood up against David O. Selznick, and it's hilarious that David O. Selznick, he references him in North by Northwest. So he says, my name is something O something, and he's like, what does the O stand for? Because like. Famously, David O. Selznick, the O stands for nothing. He was like, nothing. I just wanted to sound good. So Hitchcock literally directly references that in North by Northwest. He says, "What's your name?" Blah blah blah. Oh blah blah blah. He's like, "What does the O stand for?" Nothing.
But they were friends for years. They still holiday together when he.
They were,
Psycho
which is really nice.
So it's
the last thing I want to mention. I'm really sorry. The last thing I want to mention. Two things I had written down was breeding, brains, and beauty. The three things to the perfect woman, which I thought was hilarious in the 1940s.
Who said that? Maxim.
Yeah. Hilarious. Which I found hilarious. Like, that's what women are for: breeding, brains, and beauty, which I thought was very funny. Just so you know, when I say that women are, there's a joke. That's what they said in the 1940s. Other thing, please, like, so the best fight against David O. Selznick from Hitchcock was when the house at the very end of the film, what's her name? Danvers puts the house on fire because she's like, well, she ain't living here. I'm going to just go up in flames with
Rebecca.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's
and
like,
no one else
Rebecca.
can be here.
Yeah, it's Rebecca or nothing. So, John, I will let you, because obviously, John, I think John might have sent me the video. What was the fight about? And the final creative decision that could have been the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Selznick wanted there to be a giant art. So, you know, like in Daredevil when he gets like the, or in Batman when he goes around and draws the massive bat symbol and then sets it alight. He wanted that to happen in Rebecca with like a giant R, and like Hitchcock was like,
in smoke.
Absolutely.
So like that sets the house on fire. Yeah.
A massive R in the sky, and Hitchcock was like, absolutely not. So
it's the cheesiest, worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
So bad.
No.
But luckily they didn't do it, and I love the well, I wasn't going to mention the burning down, but hey, the fire sequence of Mandalay looks incredible.
It does, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? For like a 1940s picture.
All of the
timber coming down.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's sick. It's better than Spider-Man 1 or whatever, whichever, Spider-Man 2 maybe.
I quite like the fire sequence in that. And
yeah, I was
do you know what? Absolute tangent, by the way. Rebecca, pure. I didn't give a rating of the previous film either, but Rebecca's a solid 5-star for me. I just absolutely adored it. I've got no qualms.
American Beauty as well. What were you saying?
American Beauty. It's probably a 4 or 5, or 4.5 or 5.
It's a solid 5 for me, mate. The script.
It's my favourite screenplay apart from Social Network in terms of like dialogue and like pace and delivery. Yeah. What I was going to say was completely offhand. Jamie just mentioned really randomly, and I wasn't going to bring it up, about in Spider-Man 1 that there's a sequence where he saves the people in the fire, right, in the house?
Yeah.
And there's some he can't save. Oh, is that in Spider-Man 2 when he can't save some of them? And he's like...
Well,
do you
remember? I can't remember. Yeah.
Anyway,
I do. So
there is a scene in No Way Home where he sees Zendaya, and he's like, wait, I've seen you before, and I've never thought about it before. And apparently she was a child. Now. She was the child in the burning house in the second one that he couldn't save.
Shut up.
Apparently.
Oh my god, MCU's, man.
MCU, oh so no, genuinely. That was one of those where I'm like, is that one of those things where it's absolutely not a thing, and then someone retrospectively adds it in, or is that a genuine?
Does it just happen to be a mixed race girl? Probably. God. No, it probably is. It probably is. Like, it just happens to be a mixed race girl, and someone's been like, yeah.
You know, in Iron Man 2, there's a little kid that stands up to Iron Man and puts his hand out, and then years later they were like, oh yeah, that's Spider-Man. That's Peter Parker before he was Spider-Man.
I've almost sworn so many times tonight. We've got a couple of questions just to end off.
Let's get to questions. But I just wanted to bring that up for no apparent reason. But anyway, Hitchcock, great movie. Watch Rebecca. Boom, done. Go on, questions. I'm going to bed.
Are you going to bed?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm up so early. Was one last question actually.
Boom.
Wow. David Ellis writes in, as always, and thank you. By the way, thank you for all your questions
thanks,
we
guys.
we really appreciate. I don't say thank you enough actually about when you write in, because it does it and this is probably the it's a really clever question actually, because he says, what are your top 3 films in which the main character is dead or dies by the end of the film? Now, by the way, Rebecca is technically dead at the beginning of the film, which she is, and Kevin Spacey also dead. What's his name?
Bateman.
Lester Bateman. Lester Burnham.
Oh, sorry. Oh man, I'm well off it. Right.
So what are your
Go on
top
then.
3 films in which the main character is dead or dies by the end of the film?
Gladiator is number 1, obviously, because it's the one of my favourite journeys ever.
Yeah.
The other obvious one I was going to say was Scarface. I feel like that's not giving out spoilers, right?
Scarface?
Yeah.
He's dead at the beginning?
Well, he's dead by the end, isn't he? And isn't it flashing back on his whole life, or am I misremembering?
No. Sorry. The question. So do you know what I've done, David? I'm really sorry. I've actually not really answered your question. I've picked characters that are dead at the beginning of the film.
Oh, but he said.
Sorry, he did. He did. I've not answered the question correctly. So go on. Main characters who are dead by the end of the film. Top 3 films. I've gone all out, and I've told you characters that are dead at the beginning. So how good's that? How niche is that?
Okay, quickly, Gladiator for the reason I just said. Scarface was the other one. The obvious one, The Others.
Others, yeah.
Yeah, you've seen that.
Oh, well, spoilers.
Yeah.
In fact, spoilers for all of these. Shit the bed, man. Like
Alien 3. And I'll leave it there for now.
Stop this nonsense.
I haven't mentioned it for a while.
And,
anyway,
and do you know what? I didn't feel bad, because the reason why I mentioned why I spoke about so I wasn't thinking about spoilers, because I'm like, well, I'm just going to tell you who's dead at the beginning.
Yeah. Fine. Go on then.
So I've picked 1, 2, 3. I picked 5 films where characters are dead at the beginning. So the first one would obviously be Ghost, Patrick Swayze. If no one knows that Patrick Swayze's dead at the beginning of Ghost, then you'll be a ghost. You'll be a ghost. Sorry, bit harsh. I've got The Crow in there. Good banger.
That film makes me feel so uncomfortable. We talked about it in the episode.
Because he died on set, or
yeah, just the whole mood and theme of it is so dark
good.
and like
it's dark.
weird, and then the fact what actually happened around it. But anyway,
morphine. Anyway, Beetlejuice, Beetlegoose. Beetlejuice is a good one. It's a fun one. And then I've
Number
got 2
2
other ones
coming out soon.
Both horrors. So we've got Scream, obviously, because we have Drew Barrymore at the beginning dying. You just don't expect it. And if anyone thinks that's a spoiler, go. Why are you watching this podcast? Do you know what I mean? Why are you listening to it?
Because the woman dies in the shower and she's the main character.
That was my 5th. That was my 5th. It was my 5th.
Knew, as soon as you said the Drew Barrymore thing, I was like, I know where he's going with this.
God damn it.
And I'm going to kill him in his tracks. Sorry
To be
about that.
fair, how many times have I done that to you?
So many times.
That is
Also, it felt good.
That's
Sorry.
vindication in it. Like that's
It
proper
felt good.
vindicated. Yeah, you are vindicated.
Selfish. Right, yeah. I can't say.
Psychos are great.
Banger.
Yeah, beginning, great. Anyway,
Dun, 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 dun. Anyway,
what's that? Is that Jaws?
No, it's when they go.
I'm aware.
Yeah,
It's just a joke, man.
I was doing the driving from Psycho, if anyone couldn't say. Look, guys, I don't know what the next pod's about, do you? We decided the link for the next one?
Who? No, we haven't, no. And that's the problem. So to be fair, the main problem sometimes is that we're both so busy that the last minute we're like, oh, should we do this? And then, so do you know what to do? Write in and tell us what you want us to do. How about that? How about just police my viewing? Tell me about that.
Is anyone interested in hearing a Furiosa spoiler special, or does no one care? Do you care about?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's
Let
a
me
must.
know.
It's a must because we can do something about sand. Anyway,
Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones.
oh, that'd be sick. It's the best one.
Yes. We be rambling, guys. Thank you so much for listening today. A few things we would love you to do. We are available on YouTube as well. You have to search Movies in a Podshell altogether, no spaces, because otherwise we don't pop up.
Thanks, Tony.
And Jamie sometimes writes my apps as well, MIAPS. Don't know what that's about, but there you go.
Nah, it's a sick acronym. To be fair,
sounds cool.
It's a cool acronym.
Please also rate us 5 stars on your podcast distributor of choice, because it really helps us out. And also Jamie has a thing where he only accepts 5-star reviews. He's pretty arsey if not. So there we go. Jamie, are there still t-shirts available? If so, tell me what there are.
Small, medium, large, extra large for you thick boys out there. And you can find them.
Go on.
You can just go on MoviesinaPODshell.sumupstore.com.
He's lost it. I'm going to finish it for him. However, as we said, please send in your ideas for what pairings or at least a single film you would like us to cover, because, we look forward to hearing some suggestions, because Jamie and I don't have the brain capacity at all times to decide.
We're just tired. We're just tired.
Jamie, you going to say bye?
You find me at MoviesinaPODshell on Instagram. That's what you can do. And where do they find you, John? The best videographer that only charges about $1,000 a day. It's a lot, though, man. It's a lot of money, man. That's how much the big dogs charge. But where can they find you anyway if they wanted to hire the big dog?
That is incorrect, but I'm available at jcbvideo.com, and see you next week, guys. Bye.
See ya.